We are live. What's up, guys? Welcome to the debrief, man. We are live. Welcome to the show, ninjas. Sorry about that, guys. For some odd reason, I had to restart the software. For some odd reason, before I started the stream, it was messed up. But we are good now. We're live. We're good. We are on all the platforms. We're live on YouTube, Rumble, X, and Council Club as always. Rumble is the home base, you guys know, alongside Council Club. But yes, I got the hood on. It's cold, guys. It's cold here right now, so I'm freezing. But today we're gonna be covering a couple of stories, guys, and then we got Fresh and Fit coming tonight at 8. We're gonna be talking with Steve about taxes, making money, stuff like that. Matter of fact, let me tell my guy. All right, let me go ahead and tell him. Steve today. All right. So, let me see here if I'm missing anything from you guys. All right. So, one of the stories we're going to cover today, guys, is we're going to be covering the this crazy story with this 17-year-old who literally tried to kill his parents, or he did kill his parents, and he had a plot to go after Trump, this 17-year-old guy. Someone said Myron's on Sudanese time. I just told you, bro. I literally was fixing the OBS, the software. Guys, I start the stream at 5 o'clock every single time, as you guys know. The only reason I might not go exactly at 5 is either A, I'm walking Frank, or B, I'm having like a technical issue. I had to call Bills, and Bills helped me out, and we got it fixed, obviously. But yeah, that's really the only time. OBS, the software. Oh, my bad. Let me mute that. So that's kind of what it is, man. And I'm getting a lot better with OBS. OBS is how I stream. It's a bit more complex than like StreamYard and these other platforms that they use. But it's good though. It's good. It's how I'm able to like stream right now in 4K on YouTube for you guys. So yeah. Let's see here. All right. Let's get right into it, man.
Tonight, 17-year-old Nikita Casap already charged with the chilling double murder of his Wisconsin parents, now in the FBI's crosshairs for investigators believe plotting to kill.
Shout out to Jacob White, $7 says, Part 1, have you seen that Harvard is preparing to challenge the Trump administration over the threat to withhold $9 billion in funding if they don't comply with the new anti-Semitism mandate? You know what? I did see that on Twitter. Let's go ahead and I'll pull that up as well on the side here for you guys.
President Donald Trump, according to newly unsealed federal court documents. The news stunning the small city of Waukesha.
What's it like to hear that about your neighbor?
It's terrible. I was just so torn by it.
This FBI affidavit saying authorities found in the teen's...
Which I have that affidavit right here, my friends. And we are going to go ahead and read through this. This is actually a search warrant. It's not often that I do search warrants with you guys on here, so you guys are going to get a little bit of Fed Reacts too. We're going to go through this search warrant and work our way through it. And I will explain a lot of the stuff. So this is going to be a bit more of an informative pod today, guys.
Phone a manifesto calling for the assassination of the President of the United States in order to foment a political revolution and promote white supremacy, along with materials linking him to a neo-Nazi extremist group. Investigators writing Casap in messages with someone said he planned to use a drone in the attack that would drop a bomb with nuts, bolts, needles, and then flee to Ukraine. The affidavit stating Casap had paid for, at least in part, a drone and explosives and was communicating with someone with a Ukrainian number. It did not say where or when he allegedly
Bro, fucking crazy, bro. 17 years old plotting shit like this. Holy. Wow.
planned to target the president. This after, back in late February, local authorities during a welfare check found the teen's parents shot to death in the family home. The affidavit saying the couple had been dead for roughly 2 weeks and Casap living in the home with their bodies, then fleeing before he was arrested in Kansas. Investigators writing the killing of his parents appeared to be an effort to obtain the financial means and autonomy necessary to carry out his plan.
Maggie Vespa joins us now outside the Waukesha jail where this teen's being held. And Maggie, the White House is not commenting tonight?
Yeah, Hallie, that's right. We reached out to the White House for comment. We have yet to hear back. This, of course, after multiple attempts on the president's life last year. Casap's attorney, for what it's worth, also not responding to our request for comment. He, the teenager in this case, has yet to enter a plea in the murder case tied to those state charges. At the same time, this affidavit indicating multiple federal charges could be coming tied to this now foiled assassination plot. Hallie.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
All right. So this is Law and Crime, goes a little bit more in detail, and then we're going to go through the search warrant as well.
Prosecutors say this Wisconsin 17 that was missing.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have a friend of mine because we went through this together.
Wait, is Trump live right now? Hold on, chat. Hold on. Oh no, this was 4 hours ago. He met with El Salvador President Nayib Bukele. Okay.
On a road trip. The former Student of the Month was arrested in Kansas and just returned back to the Badger State to face a judge. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. We just learned new information about 17-year-old Nikita Casap as he made his first court appearance in Wisconsin. Here he is entering the courtroom in a protective vest in Waukesha, which is about a half hour from Milwaukee. Right now, he is charged with operating a vehicle without consent for allegedly taking his stepfather's VW Atlas without permission. I
know some of you guys are probably wondering, well, hold on, Myron, what's going on here? This dude's in a state court, but he's being charged, you saw a federal warrant. So here's the thing. He's a minor, guys. The feds are rarely going to ever take minors in, okay? Because at the federally that's 18 years old. So more than likely, what's going to happen is the state is going to take the investigation. The feds are not going to take it. I think the feds came in only because there was a potential threat against the president. So they were they were more of an assistance role. But as far as like prosecution goes, it's going to go to state.
As well as his stepfather's gun.
Feds almost never take 17-year-olds. Ever.
Prosecutors say in the very near future, this teen will face murder charges for what they uncovered on February 28th inside the home where Casap lived. So let's get caught up on this case and then we'll break down what happened in court. On February 28th.
And then also, Jacob White says, this moment demands serious dialogue. Would you consider coming to Harvard for a debate just as you did at Penn State to help foster kind of thoughtful, open conversation that's needed right now? Yeah, sure. I would go. I would absolutely go to Harvard and do a debate. We might be doing something with another prestigious school here pretty soon. I don't want to, give it all away, but I think Fresh might have locked something in. And then Victor Ziegler says, Ian Carroll recommended the occupation of the American Mind, great doc on Rumble on Israel-Palestine. Yes, I've watched that documentary on Rumble before, on here. I've watched it on this show before. So yeah, and guys, just so you guys know, MyronGainsX.com, as you guys know, the channel is demonetized. Because YouTube plays favorites and doesn't like people to tell the truth for obvious reasons. They only monetize you when you're an idiot and lie a lot of the times. So make sure to support the channel there, guys, because I am absolutely demonetized and it really blows. Even though the channel's growing pretty well, we're at like 7.4 million views for the month, chat, so that's huge. So channel's growing nice and steadily.
The mom of Casap's stepdad, Don Meyer, called police in Wisconsin from her home in Massachusetts, and she asked deputies to do a wellness check at her son's house. She said that she and Meyer's sister received text messages from Donald that they found odd. that week. Meyer lived in Waukesha with his wife Tatiana and Nikita Casap. That's Tatiana's 17-year-old son. This picture of the family is from WDJT TV in Milwaukee. When police entered the house, they found Don Meyer dead. He had a gunshot wound to the back of his head, and Tatiana, Nikita's mom, was also dead. She had a gunshot wound to her torso and one from close range in her neck, which killed her. Who they didn't find in the house, though, was Nikita. The 17-year-old school was also concerned because he hadn't shown up to class for roughly 2 weeks, and a school resource officer also had asked for a wellness check. According to this criminal complaint, that officer cited that Nikita had perfect attendance at that point in the year. He also, Nikita, appeared to be a good student. In December of 2022, he was Student of the Month at Waukesha West High School for the health department. A teacher back then said, quote, "Nick has a great work ethic and does not hesitate to find clarity when needed. He's a strong advocate for his success and works diligently to maintain a high level of rigor. He is very polite and works well both in small and large group settings." So the question at that point for investigators was, where was Nikita? A neighbor told them they had seen Nikita driving away in his stepdad's car. That is a 2018 VW Atlas. It's important to note that Nikita doesn't have a driver's license. Deputies then pinged Tatiana and Don's cell phones, and that showed a location of Cheyenne, Wyoming. That's more than 14 hours away from Waukesha and 984 miles. Eventually, Nikita was arrested all the way in Waukene, Kansas. Police say he was driving his stepdad's Atlas, also had the family's dog in the car, and inside the vehicle as well, police say they saw a Smith & Wesson handgun in plain sight. Specifically a .357 Magnum. It looks like this. The complaint...
Bro thought he was Dirty Harry, bro, and he spared everyone except for... he spared the family dog and killed everybody else, bro. Craziness.
Notes that Nikita's stepdad had bought a Smith & Wesson .357 Magnum, and that was missing from the house in Wisconsin.
Why don't you just jump over here real quick? I'll jump right here. That seems a little bit easier. Yeah, right here. Can you see yourself good there?
Yeah, I can see myself.
Nikita appeared in this extradition hearing in Kansas, and he was brought back to Wisconsin. And that is where we are at this point. Nikita is in Wisconsin. He has made a court appearance in Waukesha, and during that court appearance, prosecutors laid out some new information as we piece together the timeline of what they believe happened. And at the time of this recording, remember, Casap is only charged with taking a car and a gun without permission. At this point, he is not charged with murder.
And at this time, I would be making an oral motion to dismiss based on my review of the criminal complaint. I do not believe that there is sufficient information within the four corners to support the two charges, specifically with respect to the portion of both counts where there is an allegation that these things happened without consent. There is nothing that I can see other than one sentence at the end that says, based upon information and belief, victim A did not give the defendant permission to operate the VW Atlas, nor did he give consent to remove the Smith & Wesson .357 Magnum, So based on that, I would move to dismiss at this time.
The defense asked for this case to be dismissed, with a key part of it being there's no way to tell whether or not Casap had permission to take the car and the gun because Don Meyer's dead. Here's how the prosecution responded.
We'd ask the court to deny that motion. In this case, what's alleged to have occurred is that the police went to the house the defendant formerly resided at. He is no longer welcome at that residence. His stepfather and mother were found, we believe it's them, they now have been positively identified as his stepfather and mother, were found deceased, shot. The stepfather was shot in the back of the head, and the mother had 3 gunshot wounds, one close up to the neck, and then 2 others that were non-fatal. Obviously, a dead person cannot give consent. We believe that the date of violation, although it's not in here, the date of death is on or about February 11th, 2025, which means that the defendant was living in the house with his deceased mother and stepfather for a period of time up to February 23rd, based upon the fact that and I believe there was a neighbor who said that I don't even think the defendant had a driver's license to be able to drive a car. So based upon that and the fact that he was underage, I believe the inference is that he did not have consent to either take the firearm out of the house or the car. Obviously, the person that would have had to give him consent is dead. And we believe forthcoming charges will be brought accusing this defendant of causing that death. So at least for this hearing, we do believe that the motion should be denied. The 4 corners of the complaint adequately established probable cause to believe a crime has been committed and that the defendant committed that crime.
What you just heard there was new information when it comes to this timeline that prosecutors have. They say that Nikita's stepdad and mom were killed on February 11th. Their bodies not found until the 28th, and prosecutors say they believe Nikita lived in that house until February 23rd, nearly 2 weeks. I want to go back to something also that was noted in the criminal complaint related to text messages that Don Meyer allegedly sent family and even his boss at work. Deputies say that Don's sister received a text on February 18th, which is 7 days after prosecutors believe he died, saying that he had been sick and he was going to take some time off social media. His family also said that he had sent text messages that they found weird on February 23rd, also after the day that authorities believe that Don Meyer died. The complaint also shows that Meyer's manager at work said that they were in text communication from February 13th through the 25th saying that he was sick and he couldn't talk on the phone. All these dates after when prosecutors say Don Meyer and Tatiana Casap were killed. The judge denied the defense's motion to dismiss this case, and the hearing then moves on to bail. Here's what the prosecution had to say.
Since this complaint has been issued, we certainly have much more information. We have downloads of electronics. We have downloads from applications that the defendant was using. And certainly the defendant will be charged with 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide in the very near future. I'm just waiting for a couple warrants to come back. Further, the defendant was communicating via an app in either Russian or Romanian. We're not sure. The FBI is helping us to translate those communications. I can tell the court the defendant had $14,000 in cash on his person. He also stopped at least...
What the fuck? How did this dude have $14,000? 17-year-old 14K cash? The hell did he get that money, bro?
One Bitcoin machine and made 12 different transactions through that machine. That is not money that you get, but it goes into a wallet that he presumably has access to. We are asking for $250,000 cash bail, that he be ordered not to leave the state of Wisconsin. He not use or possess any type of dangerous weapon. The defendant was born in...
Speaking of bond for $250K, we're also going to talk about the Texas case as well, where he got bond for that amount. So we're going to talk about that as well. Let me put that Austin Metcalf bond. We'll talk about that as well. Oh. And we'll also cover the visit from El Salvador.
In Moldova, he came to the United States approximately 10 years ago with his mom. The allegations, again, involved the defendant leading the residence, last seen at the residence on February 23rd. The last time either the victim A or victim B was seen alive would be February 11th. I believe he stopped attending school on February 12th. We do believe that...
Communicating with...
All right, let's go through the search warrant a little bit, all right? So, guys, this is what you are looking at right now, and I'm going to go into education mode here a little bit. Let me make sure that you guys can see this nice and clearly. Okay. Let me make it a little bit bigger. All right, so what you guys are looking at here is a federal search warrant. So a federal search warrant, you're always going to see United States District Court for the, and then whatever district it is in the United States, right? In the matter of the search of, and then blam, what they're going to search. So in this case, devices further described in attachment A located at the sheriff's office, computer forensic lab, located at blah, 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 Boulevard, Waukesha, Wisconsin, right? Application for warrant by telephone or other reliable electronic means. So basically, they're going to try to search his devices, okay? So the FBI got federal search warrants to search his devices because they need help from the state. So the state is running the investigation, right? And obviously they have these devices and they want them searched. So the feds went ahead and turned in a federal search warrant for them to get a hold of them. And then in here, you have to describe where the phones are located, which they're saying here the sheriff's office has the phones, but we're going to go in and get this search warrant to be able to look at them, right? So you got to say what you're looking for: contraband, evidence of a crime, blah, blah, blah. Here's the crimes. So this is what's interesting. The crimes are conspiracy, 18 U.S.C. 371. You guys know that one. If you guys watch my show, you guys know I talk about this quite a bit. Then you got 18 U.S.C. 1751, presidential assassination. And then 18 U.S.C. 2332A, weapons of mass destruction. This is what they used against the Zokar brothers, the Boston Marathon bombers. Remember them? This is what they used against them. This application is based on an affidavit. Okay, now remember, guys, you're going to get, when you get a search warrant, there's 3 different attachments. There's attachment A, attachment B, and attachment C, okay? Attachment A is describing what it is that you're trying to search, okay? Attachment B is when you're searching a home, like pictures of it, of what it looks like, right? Or whatever what it looks like, whatever you're going to search, right? So A is what it is, B is where it's at, etc. And then C is the most important one, which is going to be the affidavit. Okay, so in this case, affidavit in support of application for a search warrant. I, Justin Moseman, being duly sworn to depose and state as follows. And just so you guys hear, here he is, FBI special, and he signed. He's the applicant, and the judge, Honorable William E. Duffin, magistrate judge, signed. And this was on March 18th, 2025, out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, because Milwaukee is going to be the area that the judge has the authority to sign a warrant for federally, right? So it makes this affidavit in support of an application for a search warrant for electronic devices described in attachment A, received from the Waukesha County Sheriff's Office for the things described in attachment B. So A is what's going to be searched, and then the things to be searched. B. I'm a special agent with the FBI, and I've been so since May 2019. Those guys knew. I've also been a special agent bomb technician since February 2021. I'm currently assigned to the JTTF, or Joint Terrorism Task Force in Milwaukee, where I investigate violations of federal law. I investigated and assisted in the investigation of matters involving violations of federal law related to domestic international terrorism and weapons of mass destruction, including the service of search and arrest warrants. Prior to my employment at FBI, I served as the United States Navy for 6 years as an explosive ordnance disposal technician and was employed as a contractor with the Department of Defense as explosive ordnance. So this is a bomb guy. This is a bomb tech guy. This is his experience. This is his background. The facts of this affidavit are known to me through my personal knowledge, training, experience, and through information provided to me by other law enforcement officers in the course of their duties, whom I consider to be truthful and reliable. So let's kind of go through. So he talks about the different statutes. Now he's going to go into the probable cause. Let's get it right into the probable cause, right? Because this part here, this is what I call the I love me paragraph, right? Introduction, age, and background. This is where you talk about yourself, you talk about your training, your experience, what qualifies you to write this, to be the affiant of the search warrant, right? And most importantly, how you understand the relevant crimes, okay? So in this case, this is a potential weapons of mass destruction case, so he's going to say in there, look, I'm a bomb tech, etc. This is what I do. That's why I'm qualified to be involved in this investigation, right? Because remember, guys, different agencies have different authorities, right? So on a tax case, the IRS agent is going to say, hey, well, I'm obviously an IRS agent, and I specialize in financial crimes and looking at, the IRS tax code, blah, blah, blah. All right, so on February 28, 2025, at approximately 9:44 a.m., Donald Mayer's mother, J.M., contacted the Waukesha Communication Center to request a welfare check at a residence in Wisconsin. J.M. stated they were unable to contact the family and learned Nikita Casap, remember guys, Nikita Casap is the kid here, had not attended high school for approximately 2 weeks. Additionally, the school resource officer in Waukesha West High School also requested a welfare check and advised that Casap had been absent for approximately 2 weeks. I think that's his brother. On the 28th of February, law enforcement officers from Waukesha County conducted a welfare check at approximately 10 a.m. on Casap, his mother, Tatiana Casap, and his stepfather, Donald Mayer. The deputy was unable to make contact with the residents and received information from neighbors that they had not seen the family recently. The deputy contacted the mayor's work manager and received information that Mayer had not been to work since February 13, 2025, but had communicated via text message from February 13th to 24, 2025, claiming to be sick and unable to work. Okay, that's obviously going to raise some flags. On February 28, 2025, at approximately 1:40 p.m., deputies entered the residence through the garage and found Tatiana deceased, likely from gunshot wounds and covered with blankets. And then the county sheriff's office secured the residence, because obviously at that point it turned into a crime scene, right? The sheriff's office requested emergency cell phone pings from AT&T for Donald Meyer and Nikita Casap. So cell phone ping, guys, what that basically is that's when they send a request to the phone company, right? In this case, I think it was AT&T. Yeah. So they tell AT&T, hey, look, we have a murder. We want to know where were these phones at in this 2-week period of time, because they want to know where they murdered somewhere else and then brought in, where were the phones, did the bad guys steal the phones, etc. So they're going to basically do what's called a historical ping warrant, okay, or a historical ping request. A neighbor immediately to the west of the residence provided information to the sheriff's office. There had been little activity at the residence for 2 weeks. On February 23rd, 2025, PF observed Mayer's black SUV driving away from the residence. During a secondary search of the residence, Donald Mayer was located deceased from gunshot wounds in the first floor office and also covered in blankets. During search, receipt was found for a .357 Magnum revolver, but the firearm was not located in the residence. Based on information obtained by Sheriff's Office during the course of their investigation, including security footage, cell phone records, and witness statements. Mayor and Tatiana are believed to have been killed on February 11, 2025 at approximately 6:30 p.m. Okay. So the Sheriff's Office, which showed that Casap's phone was stationary on February 24, 2025, between 2:50 and 2:50 at the world's largest truck stop located in Walcott, Iowa. The Walcott Police Department provided security footage of Casap operating Mayor's black Volkswagen Atlas SUV and was alone traveling with their family dog. So that's how they were able to find him. So they pinged this phone. He traveled with his phone. And they were able to track him to Walcott, Iowa. They called the Walcott Police Department. Walcott Police Department pulls the footage, and then they found him. Bam, just like that. Now they're onto something, right? Also, guys, do me a solid, if you guys don't mind, liking the video. This is going to be a more informative podcast today for sure. We're at 460 likes. Like the video. Let's get up to 1,000. And we're going to cover the news, too. We're going to cover Harvard. We're going to cover this. We're going to cover Karmelo Anthony with the bond. We're also going to cover Shapiro's house being burned down. So this is going to be, we got a lot of stuff to cover today. Okay. So on February 28, 2025, at approximately 10 p.m., Mayor's vehicle was listed as stolen and Casap was entered as a missing juvenile NCIC. What is NCIC, guys? National Crime Information Center. Basically, it's a thing that law enforcement uses to do criminal history checks and to put things on the lookout. So if someone goes missing, a car goes stolen, a gun gets stolen, etc., you put it into NCIC, and all the law enforcement agencies all across the country have access to it. It's a federal system. At 11:25 p.m. that day, the Waukene, Kansas Police Department conducted a traffic stop on Mayor's SUV. An unloaded .357 Magnum revolver was observed in plain view on the front passenger floorboard. A box of .357 Magnum and .38 special ammunition, Mayor and Tatiana's wallets, large amounts of U.S. currency in euros, and 2 cell phones belonging to Mayor and Casap were found in the vehicle. WPD ultimately arrested Casap for the theft of a vehicle and the possession of a firearm and seized his cell phone incident to arrest. On March 3rd, 2025, the Sheriff's Office obtained a search warrant for Casap's cell phone. During the review, Sheriff's Office identified material on the phone related to the Order of 9 Angles. Interesting. Sheriff's Office review of the phone identified possible usernames for Casap, including Accelerationist 14 and Awoken. On March 4, 2025, Sheriff's Office executed a search warrant for Mayor's Volkswagen Atlas. During the search, the following items were located in the vehicle: a pried open safe, women's jewelry, electronics, including iPads, cell phones, laptops, approximately $14,000 cash, banking documents, hard drives, and external storage devices, a Simply Safe home security sensor, and a Wi-Fi security camera with a micro SD card. So here we go. The Order of 9 Angels, O9A, is a network of individuals holding neo-Nazi, radically motivated extremist views. O9A advocates for the use of violence and terrorism to overthrow governments and destroy modern civilization. I never heard of these guys. The Sheriff's Office reviewed Casap's phone and saw images and communications that reference a self-described manifesto regarding assassinating the president, making bombs, and terrorist attacks. So that right there is what probably dragged in the FBI, because once you start getting into that stuff, obviously it's going to become a federal matter immediately. During a review of Telegram messages between February 14th and the 24th, messages in Russian were identified from the phone notification and translated, including reply to them all and say, "You got sick. Drag them to the basement." So this is obviously something else that the feds are going to be interested in, right? Potential Russian interference, foreign nation, etc. Let me take, so the Sheriff's Office review of the Wi-Fi security camera and micro SD card that were found in the Volkswagen Atlas revealed footage from February 16th to the 22nd, including Casap lighting what is believed to be scented candles and rummaging through a desk while near a mound of blankets and pillows covering Mayor's body. So this nigga killed them and then lighted candles? Bro, that's fucking diabolical, man. What the fuck? All right, let's see here. He Don't Love You says, Myron, off topic, how is real estate supposed to make me rich in the long term? Could you elaborate? The way real estate makes you rich, my friend, is basically, it's simple. You find a house. You have your money. Let's say you got 10%, right? To put it, the house is $100,000, right? You put down your 3.5% to 5%, right? Your $5,000. on top of closing costs, everything else like that, let's say it costs you $10,000. Now, you put $10,000 in, bank gives you the other 90%, pretty much, right? Or 95% in this case, but you came in with $10,000 to do the closing costs to pay everybody off. And you end up, closing a deal for around $110,000 altogether, but the bank gave you the other $90K to close the deal. So now you control a real estate property with putting only a fraction of the money down because the bank gave you a loan for the rest. Why did the bank give you the loan for the rest? Because the banks understand that real estate holds inherent value because it is land and people always need places to live. And there's only a finite amount of land in the United States that could be purchased. So what ends up happening is that property over time goes up in value. So you buy it for $100,000, but then let's say it goes up to $200,000 in 10 years, right? Well, guess what? You put that $10K down, now you own an asset worth $200,000 versus $100,000 when you bought it before. You now have $100,000 in equity in the home. Does that make sense? That is how real estate makes you rich. It's the appreciation and the leverage and the fact that you don't have to put your own money in for a majority of it. That's how real estate works. Let's see here. And that's where most of my net worth is tied up is in real estate, right? I didn't become a millionaire from doing this shit. I did it by buying real estate and holding on to it. Chief Rocca says, so Myron, FBI has gotten involved because it was a potential terrorist attack. Yes, and the foreign influence with the Russians. I walked into the store with the pod on speaker, and the guy working the counter was like, is that Myron? I'm like, hey, OSS up. We threw up the O/ together. Okay, let's fucking go, baby. That's beautiful to see, man, that you walk into a store, niggas already know what time it is. That's what's up, bro. Shout out to you, Drewski. That's beautiful to hear, man. It really is. It really is, man. We're taking over slowly but surely. Let's see here. Akia says, much love, Myron. Keep doing what you're doing. Important work. Hey, I really do try to give you guys the best content I can and teach you guys as much as I can. Let's see here. Victor Z. Yes, Victor Ziegler says, please sign a petition for Steve's son. Guys, let's get it to 2K tonight and show some love. See link in description. Yes, let me make sure it's there. Thank you so much for reminding me, bro. Let me double check and make sure it is there, actually. As you guys know, my accountant, Steve, who's actually going to be on the show tonight, his son was tragically killed roughly almost 3 years ago. And the murderer, tried to claim self-defense, but it wasn't because they told the police multiple different stories. And he shot him in cold blood and killed him here in Florida. And, we want to get justice for him. If you guys don't mind, I'd really appreciate. Here is the link. It's at the top of the description, man. And this is basically it right here. If you guys can sign this petition for me, I would really appreciate it. I'll drop it in the chat to get accountability for Steve, get justice for his family. Here's the link, guys. I'd really appreciate it if you guys could do this for Steve. He never asked for anything, guys. This is the first time he's ever asked me for anything. So let's get justice for his son who was tragically murdered and killed by a degenerate old man that doesn't even have a job, that's a loser, that picked a fight with him. And I met this young man, man. He had a bright future, was a baseball player, was extremely nice, extremely polite. It's senseless murder, man. So let's get some accountability for him. Link, I just pinned it. I just posted it in the chat, guys. So please help out Steve. He's going to be on the show today. He's going to give you guys a bunch of value. It's tax season, right? He's still working despite the grief. So please do this for me, guys, if you guys don't mind. It costs you nothing. Just let's show support to Steve. If you've gotten value from Steve or he's answered one of your questions or he's helped you out financially, he's been working with us for years. I'd appreciate if you guys did this. So, yeah. Here is the link once again. For you guys, just sign the petition. That's all I ask. Put your name in and sign a petition for us. So, okay. Let's get back to the affidavit here. Thank you so much, Victor, for reminding me for it. It's at the top of the description, guys. Here, I'll pin the link on my Streamlabs. All right. I got it pinned on YouTube right now, chat. Okay. So let's get into the ideology. On March 7th to the 8th, a preliminary review of the device imaged by the FBI for the exigent threats revealed the following conversations. So this was on TikTok, okay? It goes, Awoken, who's him. It's kind of interesting how I told this girl best friends about how I follow 09A teachings and whatnot, and what she was pretty chill about it. Awoken, I feel like most people would freak out. How about you? Does anyone in real life you're into 09A Charlie Manson? Well, they know. Awoken says, my parents don't know. They would take away my phone if they did, especially since last year FBI visited. Oh, man. My parents know. So I guess they had... The FBI interviewed the Casap family in November 2023 for unrelated internet IP activity. All members of the family denied the IP activity, and agents were allowed to view devices and internet history and found no corroboration of the alleged internet activity. So look at this. This fucking guy literally was getting them in trouble looking at this shit. And, yeah. Okay, are you over 18? Because I'm not. Does they still have control to take away stuff? Mystic Physics says, me neither. And your parents don't care? No. Okay, so they're just having this conversation here, right? So FBI personnel performing the preliminary review also saw images of 3-page document entitled Accelerate the Collapse. The images, which appear to be screenshots of the documents that were displayed on the phone, were created on February 28, 2025. The document appears to be a manifesto created by accelerationists in the messages with the unknown user in the above paragraph, calling for the assassination of the President of the United States in order to foment a political revolution in the United States and save the white race from Jewish-controlled politicians. Bro, come on, man. The third page of the document contained images of Adolf Hitler with text, Hail Hitler, and the white race, Hail Victory. Bro, this nigga, bro. There's other ways to go about it, man. God damn, bro. This nigga, man. I told you guys this before. Look, we understand the problem, right? We understand the problem. But we got to do it correctly and legally, all right? We want to get rid of AIPAC. We want to take our country back. We got to do it peacefully. We got to do it safely, and we got to do it with our voices, with our brains, okay? But yeah, look at this thing. He goes, excerpts from the 3-page document include, and he talks about, it's clear that Jews control all the white countries, and it is clear that they promote white genocide and degeneracy. This for the white race to survive. It is necessary to accelerate the collapse of the country's Jewish-occupied governments must fall. The white race cannot survive unless America collapses. As to why specifically Trump, I think it's obvious by getting rid of the president, perhaps the vice president, that is guaranteed to bring in some chaos. And not only that, but it will further bring into the public the idea that assassinations, accelerating the collapse are possible things to do. Now, what if you say you aren't capable of committing this act? This is perfectly fine for now. The next best thing you could do is tribe and train. So obviously this stuff is going to bring the FBI in, right? Because they're going to look at this as a, what's it called? As a domestic terrorist organization, excuse me, right? So, and it goes here, nihilistic violent extremists are individuals who engage in criminal conduct in the United States and abroad in furtherance of political, social, or religious goals that derive primarily from hatred of society at large and a desire to bring about its collapse by sowing indiscriminate chaos, destruction, and social instability, right? And this is why I tell you guys all the time, bro, non-violent resistance, man, because once you get into the violence, boom, now you get put on this list with the FBI and you're cooked. You can't do nothing. You know what I mean? This is why we got to use our influence, we got to use our brains, we got to use our money, and we got to use our ability to influence on our platforms to be able to invoke peaceful change, right, through democracy. And then here, now they get into the conspiracy, right? This is him communicating with the other people. Let's see how long this affidavit is. God damn. Okay, these are the different devices, electronic storage and analysis. Okay, all right, we can, okay, so attachment A. So look, the property research, right? This is what I meant to show. So with the attachment A is going to be the items that are going to be searched, right? And then attachment B is going to be like pictures of what's to be searched and what it looks like, right? And then here's the actual warrant signed by the judge, and then the return. They have a lot of shit that they're searching. Let's go back to the affidavit real quick. Excuse me. Okay, so this is them. So yeah, so they go, okay, so they find this stuff. And then they talk about nihilistic violent extremists. And then nihilistic violent extremists, both individually and as a network, systematically and methodically target vulnerable populations across the United States and the globe. NVEs frequently use social media communication platforms to connect with individuals. So they're talking about how NVEs systematically target vulnerable individuals by grooming, extorting, coercing, and otherwise compelling through force. So they're talking about how they do it. Now here's the conspiracy part. This is where we were. FBI personnel performed the preliminary review. Also saw an image with information of how to utilize a drone as an attack drone. The information contains directions on how to extend the range of an attack drone by using repeater drones and ways to avoid detection, such as making drone from a kit rather than the commercial off-the-shelf brand. The instructions provide direction to use a smaller dropper to drop an explosive. Okay, so this is also why the FBI is going to get involved, because obviously there's talk about drone and there's Russian stuff in here. So how long will I need to hide before I'll be moved to Ukraine? 1 to 2 months. Also, I probably should brush up on my Russian because I can understand just fine. So he was talking to some nigga in Russian, right? Let's see here. FBI personnel performing the preliminary review also saw a Telegram direct message conversation with someone called Angel of Death that contained the following messages from Casap. A drone with a dropping mechanism. Yeah, I still have to ask. Yeah, basically they're having a conversation. So Angel of Death, the total amount would be $1,200 to $1,500 payment by Bitcoin. Waiting time is like 7 to 10 days. IED 2,500. What the hell? This nigga was selling IEDs? Bruh. Bro, how much you want to bet this dude is scamming him? Oh, yeah, give me this money and I'll send you a drone. Yeah, okay, buddy. Fucking. Let's see here. FBI personnel performing the preliminary exigency review also saw a direct message conversation with an individual Forrest who writes in Cyrillic that contain messages to obtain a different license plate and coordinates along with driving directions from a current location in southeast Wyoming through Kansas. And then what else did they find? Okay, so they actually interviewed people too. So March 10th, they interviewed a classmate of Casap. The classmate said that Casap would send gore edit videos that included flashing gory and war images put to Russian music via Snapchat. Casap told the classmate he intended to kill his parents by shooting them, but did not have access to a gun. He later told the classmate that he would befriend someone with a gun and then steal the gun. Casap told the classmate he was in contact with a male in Russia via Telegram and they were planning to overthrow the government of the United States and assassinate Trump. Wow. Casap told the classmate that they saw 10 consecutive attacks in the news. It would have been him. That when they saw 10 consecutive attacks. In some, Casap appears to have written a manifesto calling for the assassination of the United States. He was in touch with other parties about his plan to kill the president, overthrow the government of the United States, and he paid for it, at least in part, a drone and explosive to be used as weapon of mass destruction to commit an attack. The killing of his parents appeared to be an effort to obtain financial means and autonomy necessary to carry out his plan. Other parties with whom Casap was in contact appeared to have been aware of his plan and actions and have provided assistance to Casap in carrying them out. So, obviously disturbed young individual here. Obviously sad because he threw his life away. And look, guys, let me be clear about this. I've talked about how our government is occupied. I've talked about how we have issues where our foreign policy is being run by another foreign nation that doesn't necessarily have our best interests at heart. The way we're going to fight back against this, guys, is through by being successful, by having platforms, by having money, by lobbying ourselves. We're going to play their game too. We're going to lobby as well to fight back against the Zionist lobby, right? And we're going to do it legally. And we're going to put people in power and vote for people, right? Use our vote to switch change. Tim Pool said the other day that he thinks in 10 to 20 years, Israeli influence in American politics is going to dwindle. And I agree with him because the only people that really support Israel nowadays are the older, conservative, right-wing boomers, right? But they're aging out. In the next 10 to 20 years, a lot of them are going to be gone or not voting or not being involved in the political process. The younger people are going to rise up. You guys that are watching, people in my age group, etc., We're going to rise up, and what we're going to do is we're going to become successful. We're going to become influential. We're going to make money. We're going to go ahead, and we're going to put people in through democratic process that care about America first. We do it with our influence, our finances, and we do it legally, guys. There's no need for violence. People are already waking up, okay? People are waking up right now, chat, all right? So obviously going about this in this way is ridiculous, and you end up in jail. So we're going to do it the right way, the legal way, the nonviolent way, chat. And we're going to use our power and our influence to become wildly successful. All you guys that are watching this stream right now, that you guys are young, you're in college, you're maybe you're doing a trade or whatever, become successful, okay? Become successful. Become intelligent, okay? And we will take our country back the legal, nonviolent way, and we will make America great again, my friends. I'm telling y'all, man. That's how we're going to do it. That is how we're going to do it. Okay? Not by being in your mom's basement, but by being wildly successful and having influence and resources. That is what we need. Okay? Okay, let's see here. Let's go back to this.
Online in either
Russian, bro killed his mom and his stepdad.
Or Romanian. Here's what the defense argued when it came to bail. The judge sided with the prosecution, and Casap is being held on $250,000 bail with murder charges expected in the next week. Joining us now to break down this case further is defense attorney and former prosecutor Safa Robinson-Ferrer. Thank you for taking the time to be with us here on Law and Crime.
And I'm glad that we read the search warrant, because now we know what he was talking about in particular, chat.
I want to start first after...
Before she talks, W Fed, this little nigga is evil. Yeah, crazy, bro. Killing his mom and his stepfather, so obviously he's off his marbles. I just sat a post saying that at least 100 meta workers are former IDF. Crazy if that's true. I wouldn't be surprised. Niggas banned us. I walked into the store with the pod on the speaker and the guy working the counter. Oh, yeah, okay. Caught that one. And then let me see, make sure I didn't miss any of your guys' chats. Akia says, much love, Myron. Keep doing what you're doing. I appreciate that, bro.
Seeing him back in Wisconsin, this suspect, Nikita Casap, it seems like there's a lot of evidence, and yet he's still not facing murder charges right now, even though the prosecution says that that's going to happen.
And guys, do me a solid. Can you guys like the video? We only got 700 likes, despite the fact that we got 2,000 plus you ninjas in here, 3,000 plus. So, guys, like the video for me, man. I really appreciate it.
In the very near future. What do you make of the fact that he still, though, is only being charged at this point with stealing a car and then possessing that firearm?
What it tells me is that the prosecution is trying to conduct a thorough investigation before they bring about these additional charges. One of the most important things as a prosecutor you want to make sure you're doing is you're adequately and accurately charging the individual. So you don't want to overcharge them with evidence that you can't prove at a trial, but also you don't want to undercharge the individual. Now here we can expect that there are going to be some murder charges that are added. Statutorily, which murder charges or which homicide offenses will he be charged with? We don't know that at this point, but what I think the prosecutor is trying to do is just ensure that she has enough evidence and information as she adds these additional charges to make sure that everything that she is charging is sufficient and appropriate.
How does that work where he was found with a gun that is presumed to be the murder weapon, and it feels like there are just cases, and this is where you can tell me I'm wrong because you're the attorney and I'm not, but it feels like there's some, like, people get charged with murder for a lot less evidence at times. Why not charge him with murder and then add those additional pieces of evidence later? Is that something that they can do, or is it just not how that works?
That is something that they can do. I don't know why the prosecutor took this position with respect to this case. It seems that during the arraignment for these charges, that the prosecutor had enough information to indicate that the murder charges would be forthcoming, and she added information in the opposition of the bail application to indicate and reflect that he was responsible for those murders, or he's alleged to be responsible for those murders. So I can't say for certain why she would have waited. I expect that they're going to have a preliminary hearing within 9 to 10 days, and so it's expected that she's going to file them or amend the complaint against him to add those additional charges once that time comes. I do believe that they're getting search warrants for phones and devices and things like that, or that they have done that. And so I expect that that information will solidify and confirm, what charges she's looking to go forward with. And it could have just been a matter of timing. Sometimes what happens is, with respect to, charges and evidence that prosecutors have at the moment, whatever they find necessary to establish at least some basics of a charge, they will use that to go forward and at least get the individual held in custody and then add those additional charges later.
How common is it to, in court, say that this person is eventually going to be charged with a more serious crime and try to factor that into whether they would be held on a higher bail, even though at this point he has not been charged with murder?
Yeah, so of course the prosecution is going to try to do that, and I see both sides of the coin here. You know, if there's evidence that is sufficient to prove or show that he is alleged to commit the homicides, you don't want to risk him getting out and reoffending and murdering somebody else. So that's the most important thing, is protecting the public. But at the same time,
yeah, there's no way he's going to get out on bond. Killed both of his parents and premeditated. You know, saying that he has allegiance to a terrorist organization. No way. Cooked. No way he's getting bond.
You know, there is an argument to be made that he is not charged with the murders. And I think that his defense attorney made these arguments during their bail application and during the arraignment, but he has not been charged with the murder. At this point in time, he's simply charged with stealing or using the motor vehicle, or unauthorized use of the motor vehicle, and for having that firearm. And so those are the charges that they have now. How fair is it to, you know, set such a high bail and treat this individual as if he has been charged with murder when he has not? You know, there's arguments to be made on both sides, but I think the interest of the public is why the prosecutor made those arguments for such a high bail, referenced the homicides, and why the judge went along with setting that $250,000 bail.
And in your experience, being both a criminal defense attorney and a former prosecutor, how much of that is on the judge and just the particular judge that you get, and how they typically handle those proceedings?
It certainly does depend on the judge that you get. You get some judges that are more liberal, some judges that are more defense friendly. You get some judges that are more conservative. And one of the things that the judges will always consider is, if I let this person out and this person commits another homicide or some other alleged act of violence, this is going to come back on me. So as the judge looking at this, they're saying for themselves, in order to protect the interest of the public, the integrity of the case, and not only that, but to cover my back as the judge, I'm going to go along with this high bail. And judges will do that. Some judges who are more defense friendly or more.
Oh, Karmelo just got released? Let's go ahead. Breaking news. Let's see here.
I want to bring you some breaking news here at 4:30 in case you're just now joining us. Karmelo Anthony, the teenage suspect in that deadly Frisco stabbing at the track meet, just walked out of the Collin County Jail minutes ago. Today, a Collin County judge reduced the bond for the 17-year-old from $1 million down to $250,000.
And he's only got to come up with about 5 to 10% of that.
Anthony will have to wear an ankle monitor from here on. He'll be on supervised house arrest and can only leave the house with the approval from the court. He has to stay off social media as well, and he cannot contact the victim's family.
I guess he can't go to school either.
Wanted to bring you that video, though. We're going to have a live report with the very latest coming up in just a little bit at 5 o'clock.
Holy. Let's see what else we got here. So, yeah, he had his bond reduced.
Self-defense is a protection that applies to each and every one of us.
Chat, let me know if that's if you guys can hear that. I had to bump it up quite a bit.
There are two sides to every story.
So it looks like Karmelo Anthony's lawyer on judge reducing bond in Frisco track stabbing case.
And Karmelo is a 17-year-old kid and an excellent student. He is the captain of his track team. He is the captain of his football team. And prior to this, what was on his mind was what college he was going to go to. This is a tragedy all the way around for both families. Rushing to judgment, trial by public perception and trial by media is not how we ensure justice is done. We are confident that after a full investigation, that the truth will come out. Thank you.
Mike, you took umbrage with the state's assessment that this was simple and brutal. Why so?
Well, the fact of the matter is, like I said, there's two sides to every story, and we've only heard one side. In any criminal case, the police investigate.
All right, let's see who this guy is. Let's figure out Karmelo Anthony, lawyer. Who is this guy's lawyer? Mike Howard. Because this guy's got to be, I'm assuming he's probably a big-time lawyer, maybe taking this case pro bono, or someone hired him because lawyers love to jump on big cases like this, get their name out there.
And the defense is always far behind that. And so it is a one-sided investigation to this point, and even that investigation is still ongoing. So to say that it happened this way or that way is just not accurate at this point. All of the facts are going to come out, and that's why our system of justice requires that we keep our minds open and we let the facts come out as they are after a full investigation.
Is your client going to be able to make bond and get out today?
I anticipate that he will be able to make bond. I can't speak to how quickly that will go. You know, funds, you know, in the funds that have been raised are not quick to come out. And then, you know, there's obviously a process to the release process once bond is posted.
The big question that a lot of people have is why was this young man armed on school property?
That's an understandable question, but it's not something that, frankly, we're prepared to even go into. You know, this is something that I know the police and the prosecution want to get it right and want to have a full and fair investigation, and so do we. So it would be irresponsible for me or them at this point to start saying, this is what happened, this is why, anything. So I understand that's a big question. It's going to be a big question, and it's something that we will find out, and we ask that the public, as hard as it is, withhold judgment and let both of these families have justice, that let both of these young men, you know, the Metcalf family and the memory of who they've lost, but also Karmelo, have a fair and full justice process.
How has he? Ultimately, your feeling on the reduction of this bond, you feel it's fair?
Yeah, I feel it's fair. You know, bond, as the judge said, is not supposed to be an instrument of oppression. It's not supposed to keep people in jail. It's not supposed to punish. It's supposed to ensure that a person shows up to court, complies with all conditions, and it's supposed to keep the community safe. So this is a large and substantial bond, and the judge has, I think, rightly imposed reasonable conditions that will ensure both Karmelo and the Anthony family's safety, but also the safety of the community.
What was Karmelo's reaction today? He didn't seem very talkative toward you, and how has jail, I guess, been so far for this teenager, and is he on suicide watch or anything like that?
I honestly can't speak to Karmelo's reaction because I was so focused on the hearing and what was going on and what the judge was saying. You know, I think we have to all remember Karmelo is a 17-year-old kid who's never been in any sort of trouble before. If you can just put yourself in his shoes, this is a scary, bewildering process, and I can't even imagine what was going through his head, just as I'm sure I can't.
But why would bro bring a knife to a track meet though? That's weird.
Imagine what was going through the heads of the Metcalf family. So, you know, this is something that is new to all of them and incredibly trying.
I'm still trying to figure out, why would you bring a knife to a fucking track meet, bro? That is so fucking weird, man.
So for people who want to know, why were you selected? I mean, what is your experience? I mean, you had to be really good.
I can't speak as to why I was selected. You know, in any case, it's important to have an attorney that you connect with. That
shout out to Butzko 122 for joining Castle Club. Shout out to you, my ninja. Happy to have you, man. Happy to have you. Welcome to Castle Club.
That you feel has the right amount of experience and the right investment in the case, and I'm not speaking to anybody else. I just know that, you know, that's important in any case.
Okay.
Just how unsafe does this family feel? You mentioned it multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to speak for them at this point, but I think you can imagine the press coverage on this case has been immense, and the online and public reaction has been immense, and unfortunately, as is common.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I did not think this thing was going to hit national news the way it did, but the reason why is it caused an uproar on Twitter. So this case caused an uproar on Twitter, and really made us have a tough discussion in America on race and violence. And basically what ended up happening was the mainstream media had to accept it, which, goes to show what I told you guys before. The people have quite a bit of power, guys. The fact that this thing went so viral on Twitter, the mainstream media media outlets had to pick this story up. But otherwise, they would have never given a shit about this.
In our culture, especially lately, the vitriol and the public reaction one way or the other has been intense, and threats and talk of race war and all kinds of insanity isn't good for, obviously, the Anthony family. It's not good for the Metcalf family. It's not good for the peace and safety of our community. So I would ask, and I know both sides would ask, that the temperature on this be allowed to come down, that the media, you guys have a job to do, and I understand that, everyone does, but at the same time, we just ask everyone in the public and everywhere to let this process play out fairly and fully for both sides. Okay, thank you guys.
All right. So yeah, crazy stuff, man. He literally just got out. Let's see here. What else? Oh, we'll finish up with this here.
More liberal may say, you know what? He's not charged with the murder right now. If you were that concerned about it, prosecution, you should have had him charged with that by this morning. And so I'm going to go along with the lesser bail or entertain his release to some extent, whether that's on a monetary basis or electronic monitoring.
Safa, what do you make of the defense trying to just dismiss this case? Because I did read through the criminal complaint, and it was a neighbor that saw him driving the car. He doesn't have a license, and then he's arrested in Kansas with the vehicle. But the facts of the matter are his stepdad has passed away. So it's, by looking at a criminal complaint, unclear whether or not he was given permission. What do you make of the defense trying to get this case dismissed altogether?
The defense attorney did exactly what she should have done and what she was supposed to have done. One of the things that's important.
I mean, it doesn't matter. They're going to charge his ass with murder. They got him dead to rights on the murder. They got in the phones legally. They got the, they got the search warrants, etc. Like, it doesn't really matter. And the prosecution probably let them have it. Oh yeah, you can't prove that he actually stole the money and all this other shit. All right, that don't matter. They're going to be able to prove the fact that he killed him.
Is the accusatory instrument that's filed in court, and that's a charging document for the defendant. It alleges that the defendant committed XYZ. One of the things that happens is there's a four corners challenge, which
is cooked.
Essentially says, Judge, we're challenging what is written within the four corners of this accusatory instrument, because based on our position and our belief and review of this accusatory instrument, there is not a sufficient basis to charge this individual with this crime. His attorney during the arraignment noted that the consent factor is in question. There's nothing to indicate that the deceased or the decedent did not consent to the use of the firearm or to taking of the firearm or the vehicle. And so that's one of the things that should be challenged in the legal world or in the legal realm of this. One of the things the prosecutor has to show is that he did not have consent. Now, the court, in reviewing the four corners of the accusatory instrument, can infer that consent was not had. But later down the line, that inference and that standard at the arraignment is not going to be the same when it gets time to a trial and the prosecutor has to prove lack of consent beyond a reasonable doubt. The defense attorney did what she should have done in this case. There was a great argument against the prosecution indicating that there's no proof of the lack of consent. The individuals, unfortunately, aren't able to consent or not consent. And so that was the argument that was made. I think there's a good point to be made there. But the judge determined that based on his ability to infer, he was going to maintain that the accusatory would stand.
And to your point, like kind of seeing both sides of it, just because as someone who's not a lawyer, just kind of watching this case, a member of the public, anybody who would be accused, even in the court of public opinion, of committing murder this way, you wouldn't want them out on the streets. But then from the other side, I do see the defense saying there's nothing in here that shows that he actually stole the car. Who knows if the stepdad said, take the vehicle, go for it, drive to Kansas, and then someone else came into the home and did it. That argument could actually hold some water. And I guess I could see that if you were a defense attorney, you feel like you're fighting an uphill battle because of these charges that haven't even been filed yet for a much more serious case.
Yeah, most definitely. And so that's a question. And I give credit to the prosecution as well, because of course you can infer, well, they weren't able to consent because they weren't alive. But again, those things have to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt later down the line. Now, I expect that once the murder charges come in, these charges that he was arraigned on as of yesterday are going to be the least of his problems. So
Exactly. And that's all they give a shit about at the end of the day. All right. Let's see anything else with Karmelo Anthony, and then we'll get into the Shapiro stuff. Let's see. People giving their thoughts on this stuff, whether it's self-defense or not. All right. Let's see. Let's go into the Trump thing. Let me close some of this stuff out. So we covered the search warrant, Casap. All right, let's go to Harvard. So protests call for Harvard to push back against Trump administration.
The rally today in Cambridge calling on the leaders of Harvard to push back against the Trump administration. Harvard has been warned that federal funding will be withheld from the school unless it eliminates DEI initiatives and ramps up its effort to battle anti-Semitism.
That's the real reason. They don't give a shit about the DEI stuff. It's the anti-Semitism protests that they're concerned about.
WBZ's Paul Burton says the demonstrators are urging Harvard to not back down.
When our university is under attack, what do?
Braving cold, rainy temperatures, Harvard University students, faculty.
And just so you guys know, Harvard has a lot of money. I'll give you guys an example of what I mean by this. So, as you guys know, I went to Northeastern University, okay? Northeastern is in Boston, Harvard is right across the river in Cambridge. And one of the teams that we would always race in rowing was obviously the Harvard Crimson. And these boats that we would use to row, right, they're called empakers. These boats are expensive, okay? I'll give you guys an example of what one looks like. Right, so these boats, like these empakers, right, they're basically like an 8 is like $45K, right? Cost between $38,000 to $45,000, right? And the boats are expensive, the oars are expensive, all the things that come with rowing an 8, the oars, all this stuff, right? Riggers, all this shit. Extremely expensive, right? And a lot of these teams have a bunch of these boats. They have a million of them, right? Now, check this out. This is how rich Harvard is. A lot of times when you get these boats, they're donated by alumni, right? So Harvard has a waiting list for people that want to donate boats to the rowing program, okay? The fact that they have a waiting list to take money to buy these boats for their boathouse because they have so many goddamn boats. And mind you, they have a women's team and a men's team. Shows you guys the enormous amount of money that Harvard gets, okay? That's why the people are protesting saying you have enough money, you don't need the federal funds. Because they're a school. I mean, matter of fact, Harvard is so rich, by the way, guys, when they do their financial aid, they do their financial aid based on the student. So if the student can't afford it, it doesn't matter. Harvard will come in and cover a significant amount of the student's financial aid package outside of FAFSA, okay? So Harvard has a very unique setup when it comes to financial aid, when it comes to endowments, when it comes to, hell, even their sports program. And I'm just talking about rowing. I haven't even talked about all the other sports where they get money and funding from their alumni. So the long story short is, Harvard is really good when it comes to money. Really good, okay? Now, with that said, clearly, they're getting bullied around right now by the Trump administration on this whole anti-Semitism thing. And I'm going to talk about that here a little bit more. But let's go back to it, and then I'll talk about it after.
along with Cambridge residents and city leaders, came together to speak out and to stand up against President Donald Trump and his administration. The Trump administration has been deporting international students from schools across the country, claiming many of the students have been participating in campus protests.
And we are here today because our universities are...
And for some of you that are wondering, yes, Boston and Cambridge is extremely fucking woke. So not only are they mad about the students' inability to protest against what's going on in Gaza, they're also mad because it's Trump pushing this shit out. So obviously they're not, it's a double whammy for them.
Are under attack. It is an attack on room.
And normally I make fun of leftists and liberals, but in this case I think they're absolutely correct. Not so much the fascism, rather I'm more concerned with the freedom of speech problem that this imposes.
Mesa Ozturk, a Tufts grad student who, for writing an op-ed defending freedom...
That's the one that I showed you guys up in Somerville that got arrested by ICE, the Turkish chick, where she wrote an article and they literally went and grabbed her.
For
protesting, to protest against Israel.
Was snatched off our streets and sent to a detention center in Louisiana.
Organizers say so far this month, 12 Harvard affiliates, including 7 current students, have had their student visas revoked, sparking this call for action.
Standing here today comes at a great personal risk for all of us.
Leo Gurdon is an international student from Sweden.
We want a university with an endowment of $50 billion and the best law school in the world to offer all of us full legal representation. Because when ICE agents show up at our doors, Harvard should have our backs.
And standing up for our values comes at a cost for our future. But I didn't travel 5,000 miles all the way from Pakistan just to be afraid of walking 5 feet out of my dorm.
Meanwhile, Harvard released a statement saying, "We resolve to take the measures that will move Harvard and its vital mission forward while protecting our community and its academic freedom." Cambridge City Councilor Patty Nolan is a Harvard graduate. She says whatever the university decides will have repercussions for the city.
I'm an alum. There's thousands of alums who have signed petitions saying, Harvard, stand up, follow the rule of law.
Don't give in without a fight.
In Cambridge, I'm Paul Burton, WBZ News.
And just so you guys know, this is on all the Ivy League schools, Columbia, Harvard, etc. And now they're expanding out to Northwestern as well. And then here we go. So this comes an hour ago from the Washington Examiner.
Harvard University has refused to meet the demands of the Trump administration regarding campus anti-Semitism. In a letter, Harvard accused the administration of ignoring steps the university...
So this literally came out today. That they're combating. And I'm going to talk about how we got here in the first place, Chad. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a quick little summary because some of you guys might not be familiar with the lore that led us to this situation.
Has already taken to combat anti-Semitism. It also accused the administration of overstepping their authority by making demands while threatening federal funding.
The American taxpayer will not subsidize the creation of terrorist sympathizers on American soil. It won't happen. Colleges will end.
And notice where he's at. I think this is one of the conferences, that one of the APAC funded conferences, because you guys can see the flags in the back.
The anti-Semitic propaganda, or they will lose their accreditation, and every single last penny.
The letter was signed by Harvard attorney Robert K. Hur. Hur was appointed U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland by Trump in 2018 and investigated former President Joe Biden in his classified documents case. The letter reads, quote, Harvard is not prepared to agree to demands that go beyond the lawful authority of this or any administration.
Oh shit! All right, he's putting up a spine.
In March,
what's the dude's name? William. Hold on.
Single last penny.
District of Maryland by Trump in 2018. Robert K. Hur. Hur was appointed U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland by Trump in 2018 and
Which, that's a big deal to become the United States Attorney for the District of Maryland, which is basically the federal prosecutor for that area.
Investigated former President Joe Biden in his classified documents case. The letter reads, quote, Harvard is not prepared to agree to demands that go beyond the lawful authority of this or any administration. In March, the Trump administration sent a letter to Harvard outlining steps it should take to combat anti-Semitism. It highlighted actions like disciplinary reform and increased accountability, actions Harvard claims it has already taken. Trump's letter also took aim at diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, accusing them of fueling, quote, division and hatred based on race, color, national origin, and other protected characteristics. Harvard's response reads, quote, neither Harvard nor any other private university can allow itself to be taken over by the federal government. Accordingly, Harvard will not accept the government's terms as an agreement in principle.
Can't believe I'm siding with the universities on this one, but I mean it's true, bro. This is ridiculous because this is a softball approach towards violating the First Amendment. And shout out to what's this guy's title? What's his title? He's not the president.
About anti-Semitism. In March, prepared to agree to in his classified document by Trump in Her was appointed U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland by Trump in 2018 and investigated former President.
Lose their accreditation and every single last penny.
The letter was signed by Harvard attorney Robert K. Hur.
Okay, so he's an attorney for Harvard. Who's the director of Harvard now? Because president of Harvard now. Yeah, Alan Garber. Yep. Okay. So because I'm almost certain that this guy is one of those. Let me see here. Yeah, there you go. So you grew up in a Jewish household. So here's the thing. This guy got appointed. So let's go through the lore a little bit, okay? So for this to make sense for you guys, okay, for this to make sense, we got to go back in time. So when October 7th happened, obviously it caused quite a bit of ruckus all across the United States and the world. The Middle East, hold on, let me turn this camera on. Sorry. When October 7th happened, it shocked the world. Because what ended up happening, guys, was not only were the events on October 7th shocking, but the retaliation by Israel was shocking. You know, we saw, you know, the rumors of the 40 beheaded babies, the mass graves, etc. Then information came out showing that a lot of that stuff was propaganda. And then we saw kids getting bombed and killed, etc. And obviously we see what's going on right now. For almost 2 years now, we've seen innocent people get absolutely decimated by Israeli bombs that we are funding and giving support to. And obviously, this outraged a lot of people. It outraged the international community, and it outraged a lot of people in the United States. So a lot of these Ivy League schools, guys, have a very strong international student body. Typically, the better the school, the more international students they have because they try to bring in the best and brightest from all across the world. Right? When I was at Northeastern, it was like something like 30 to 40% of our student body was international, and the Ivy Leagues are no different. And the other thing I also want you guys to understand is that all across the world, people are kind of aware of Zionism and Israeli influence, etc. It's a very American thing to be unaware about this stuff, by the way. Like, the rest of the international community kind of knows that Palestine is occupied land. They understand how Israel is running a violent occupation against the Palestinian people, etc. It's only in America where we're kind of unaware of this shit. But obviously, October 7th woke a lot of people up. I say this to say that a lot of the students that led these campus protests in 2023 and 2024 were international students, and a lot of them, you know, being joined by American compadres. So in 2024, last year, there was a massive uptick in students protesting against what was going on in Gaza. Universities all across the country, whether it's Columbia, Harvard, Yale, UCLA, etc. All the top schools pretty much had some type of presence when it came to these protests against what was going on in Gaza and the death and the destruction going on. And, you know, it wasn't just regular protests. We're talking about encampments. We're talking about people breaking into buildings, etc. Now, as always, whenever you have big protests, there's going to be a percentage of the protests or protesters that are going to do violent, stupid things, right? And obviously, you guys know on this stream or this pod, you know, we don't condone violence. We think if you want to go ahead and stimulate change, you got to use your influence, you got to use your voice, you got to use your platform. Once you start to use violence, you basically fuck things up. And a lot of these protesters use violence like idiots. Granted, that was a minority of the overall protest population. So, obviously, these protests caused quite a bit of stir and a lot of problems for the Biden administration. And the reason why it caused problems for the Biden administration is because Democrats are put in a weird situation when it comes to the Israel-Palestine conflict. Why? Well, because in the Democratic Party or on the left in general, the state of Israel is highly unliked. Why? Because Israel goes against democratic values, despite the fact that they say that they're a democratic state. What do I mean by this? They commit human rights violations all the time. It's an apartheid ethno-state. It is quite literally the antithesis of what a democracy and humanitarian rights are supposed to be. On one side, they say we're the only democracy in the Middle East, but on the other side, they maintain and leverage a violent occupation against a marginalized people. So on the progressive and left side, Israel is wildly unpopular, right? So this puts the Biden administration in a weird spot because on one end, right, their constituents are pro-Palestine. Their constituents don't like the apartheid state that Israel runs. Their constituents don't like the violence that's going on. And the Gaza conflict highlighted this and brought this stuff to the forefront. But on the other end, they also understand that the Zionist lobby is extremely powerful and that Israel is supposed to be our greatest ally. So on one end, their constituents are complaining because we support Israel, but on the other end, they understand who runs this country and how powerful the Zionist lobby is. So they have to support Israel to some degree. So what ended up happening by the Biden administration was this kind of one foot in, one foot out foreign policy when it came to supporting Israel. So Biden, on one side, would be like, we need to, stop these protests. They're being ridiculous. They're destroying property, etc. But on the other end, he's like, well, what's going on with the people of Gaza is horrible and it sucks, etc. So he had to basically doublespeak and talk out both sides of his mouths to keep both people happy. But here's the problem. By doing that, he, by playing this weird middle ground, he ended up making both parties angry and no one wanted to support him. And what ended up happening was, on one end, he'd tell the Israelis, hey, we're going to give you guys some of this support, but not all of it. We're not going to give you guys the 2,000-pound bombs, but we're going to go ahead and give you guys the foreign aid that you guys are looking for. Netanyahu would say that he would abide by certain terms. He wouldn't abide by those certain terms. And basically, Biden couldn't reel him in, right? And Netanyahu was openly disappointed and angry with U.S. support when it came to Israel. That's why he came to Congress and complained and said, give us the tools so we can finish the job, blah, blah, blah. And then on top of that, the other reason why the Israelis were mad, because these college campus riots or protests were affecting Israel's public image in the United States, okay? Now, when it comes to Israel's public image in the United States, they need to protect that because they understand that they cannot maintain or, well, not even maintain, they can't acquire hegemony in the Middle East, right, without U.S. support. They need U.S. firepower. They need U.S. funding to be able to run the Middle East like they want. And if they don't get American support, they won't be able to do this, okay? So obviously to them, it's a big threat when you got college students protesting and waking more people up to what's going on in Israel. So while Netanyahu was fighting with the Biden administration to get resources, wealthy and influential Jewish Zionist billionaires like Bill Ackman were taking to the streets to support. What do I mean by this? Enter in Harvard University, okay? So Claudine Gay was the president of Harvard at the time when a lot of these protests were going on, okay? And Harvard University is pretty much the leader of the Ivy League. Yale would get angry at me saying this, but it's the truth, okay? As someone that came from this world, I will tell you guys absolutely that Harvard is the leader of the Ivy League. So everything that Harvard does is going to be mimicked by the other Ivy League schools. So Claudine Gay basically had a hands-off approach when it came to these protests, okay? Because like I told you guys before, Harvard is a liberal school, and the war crimes that were going on and the people being killed, she didn't like it either. But wealthy billionaires that or Harvard alumni like this guy, Bill Ackman, okay, and others lobbied, as you can see here he is, he's an alumni of Harvard. And before you ask, yes, on the early life, guys like him, who are lifelong Democrats, by the way, started to put pressure to get Claudine Gay fired, okay? Because a lot of the money and the resources that come from Harvard come from Zionist alumni, okay? So guys like him, etc., started to put pressure. And then on top of that, they started to rally around Donald Trump, Remember, guys, this is 2024. This is before the election. So people like Bill Ackman start putting pressure on Ivy League schools, getting people fired, like Claudine Gay, replacing them with other Zionists, right? Like who's in power right now, okay? Which I'll talk about that here in a second as well. Getting people fired, replacing them with other people, and they start switching their political support from the Democrat Party, who isn't giving enough support to Israel, to the Republican Party, like Donald Trump, right? So you see multiple things going on here, right? Netanyahu is angry with the Biden administration because they're not getting assistance. Bill Ackman and the other billionaires are angry with the Biden administration because they're not reeling in the college campus protests. So everyone starts to rally behind Trump. And that is a big reason why Trump got elected, because the Zionist lobby knew that Trump coming into office, he would start imposing anti-Semitism laws. He would start imposing changes at these universities. He will start heavily punishing these universities for allowing these protests to go on, because the protest guys, okay, are the front lines of American thought, okay? Because what ends up happening is the Zionist lobby, right, the ADL, these different organizations, they understand that for them to maintain influence in America, they need to continuously maintain a positive image in America. But if you got young students, TikTok, etc., coming in and saying, hey, Israel's in a parasitic apartheid state, blah, 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 genocidal state, that's going to influence the youth to think negatively about Israel. Now, the reason why that's a problem is because these people are going to grow up. These people are going to become politicians. These guys are going to become wealthy. These guys are going to become successful, and they're not going to support the state of Israel. If they don't support the state of Israel and U.S. support wanes, Israel will not exist. Israel only exists because of American support. We give them the most foreign aid of any other country. So people like Jonathan Greenblatt, people like Bill Ackman, etc., see the writing on the wall. They realize, holy shit, if we don't reel this, what they call anti-Semitism on these college campuses in, it's going to spread like wildfire. Israel's going to be unpopular. People won't support Israel, and we will not be able to continue to maintain a hegemony in the Middle East. And then on top of that, you add in the fact that we have a war going on over there, and that Iran is at the weakest it's ever been, and this is Israel's chance to finally land a death shot. Well, you guys can see how the stakes have been raised significantly, and why they are pushing to have, to silence criticism, right, through the college campuses, okay, curb this stuff through anti-Semitism laws, and then be able to maintain the conflict without really getting too much pushback. That's what they're trying to do. Obviously, platforms like TikTok got taken down because of the ADL and then came back. And when the TikTok did come back, what ended up happening? It came back where you couldn't say Free Palestine or From the River to the Sea was considered banned, right? And this all comes from the Zionist lobby, the ADL. So they're doing their best to stifle freedom of speech when it comes to talking about this conflict. And like I said before, the college campuses are at the forefront of this. It's good to see that Harvard is fighting back because their legal representation said that this is unconstitutional, but they're going to continue to try to make the schools go broke. They've done it to Brown, they've done it to Yale, they've done it to Columbia. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Let's get to... Give me ones in the chat that makes sense for you guys. What the hell? Camera turned off. Sorry, chat. Let me fix this crap. We're spitting too much hot fire. Sorry about that, chat. Let's see what else is new with the Harvard stuff. But that's good that they're fighting back. That is good that they're fighting back, man. Nope, that's not going to be helpful. So they had this rally, like we said.
Well, organizers say more than 500 people rallied here on the Cambridge Common, including Harvard foreign students here on visas.
I mean, that's great for them to rally and potentially lose their student visas for this. But hey, man, I mean, it is crazy, bro. I don't blame them.
They don't speak up right now. I don't know who will.
Abdullah is a Harvard student from Pakistan. Carl is from Austria, and Leo is from Sweden.
I normally would never be aligning myself with liberals like this from Harvard, but I believe in freedom of speech. And, you know, and I said before, I've told you guys this before, this you know, anti-Semitism bill to deport students for political speech, this is one of the few things that people on the right and people on the left actually agree with. Yeah, yo, this guy, bro, yo, you're not gonna make it, bro. Dude, you're about to get banned, dude. Like, you're literally about to get banned. You keep fucking saying this stupid shit in the chat. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, bro? You're literally advocating for violence in the fucking chat, you dumbass. So, I'm gonna give you one warning, bro. If you keep saying that shit, I'm literally gonna ban you forever. I'm giving you one warning, and I'm being nice about this shit. But you're in here, like, literally calling for violence. So, if you keep doing that, you're gonna get banned. Yeah, bro, you're getting banned, bro. This nigga just put an addy out there. You're fucking, nah, man. This nigga, bro. We do not fuck with that, bro. I'm all for freedom of speech, but once you start getting into that, like, nah, man. Anyway.
All three say they're afraid of losing their visas for speaking out against Harvard and the Trump White House.
And if any of us get deported tomorrow for being here, or any of our international friends for speaking their mind, we want Harvard to guarantee that we will be able to graduate.
Harvard is the target of this rally, with students, faculty, and alum gathering to tell the university to push back on the Trump administration for demanding Harvard reform and dismantle many programs on campus or risk losing federal funding.
This is ridiculous. If you don't stand up to a bully, anybody who thinks that a deal with Trump is going to help them is crazy.
Yeah, so let me be clear about this. This idiot, you're not going to make it, bro. You're banned forever, bro. You're banned forever, okay? You don't put someone's address and threaten to hurt them. Like, that's some weirdo shit, bro. Like, you're cooked. You're done. Don't ever fucking come back to my chat. You're literally, and I'm banning all your fucking accounts too. You're cooked. We don't advocate for violence here. You want to go ahead and have political speech? That's cool, but we're not going to advocate for violence in here. You're cooked, nigga. Make another account. I'm just going to keep banning you. You're going to keep getting fucking nuked. You guys know I'm against censorship, but we're not, and I'm against, you know, people censoring people, but we're not going to fucking sit here and, like, threaten people's lives. Are you fucking crazy? Fuck wrong with you, man?
It is an attack on the more than...
And I'll tell you this, nigga, you're not going to make it. I'll tell you that. Keep doing this dumb shit. You're not going to make it.
18,000 international students enrolled in Massachusetts colleges and universities. Several dozen of them have already had their visas arbitrarily revoked, and the rest are terrified that they will be next.
Speakers point to the case of Rumeysa Ozturk, the Tufts graduate student who was arrested in Somerville this spring by ICE agents and taken to a federal facility in Louisiana after penning a pro-Palestinian op-ed piece in her college newspaper. Back on stage, foreign students keep the pressure on Harvard.
I have a responsibility to fight for their safety, to fight for their freedom. Because right now, Harvard's administration isn't doing any of that. Thank you so much.
Now, the university had no comment on today's rally, and there was no opposition, but organizers say the school will continue to lose hundreds of millions of dollars if it continues to disobey the Trump White House when it comes to education. That's why they're urging the school to spend some of its $50 billion in endowment to remain free and independent when it comes to education. We're live in Cambridge. I'm Ted Wayman, WCVB News Center 5.
All right. Yeah, I know some of you guys are saying, yo, Myron, what took you so long to ban him? Well, I'll tell you guys this, bro. Like, I'm not looking at the chat like that, man. That's the mods' job. Mods, like, what the fuck, man? People doing shit like that, you got to get rid of them immediately. Okay, let's go ahead. So this comes 43 minutes ago, brand new from Law and Crime. Man tried to blow up Pennsylvania governor's mansion. Police. So this is going to cover the Shapiro. The governor of Pennsylvania, he was attacked. So, yeah, my thing is, bro, like I said before, like, I'm all for free speech and everything like that, but if you're gonna dox people, you're gonna wish harm on people or whatever, like, you're cooked, bro. Like, that's some low IQ, stupid shit, and you guys fuck it up for everybody else by being low IQ morons that don't have the ability to fight with your ideas versus you have to use violence. You're an idiot. So, yeah, no, that's an instant ban on my shit, bro. No violence ever.
Type of violence is not okay.
Pennsylvania's governor and his family escape.
Matter of fact, before we get into this, let me go ahead and read some chats because it's been a minute since I've gotten a chance to read them. Okay, would you recommend getting a VA loan for my first house? Pros and cons. Do it, bro, but just understand that your bill, your mortgage is going to be extremely high every month because you're putting no money down. And Butzko, subscribe to Chaos Club. Once again, thank you for that, bro. W Fed, this little nigga is evil. I know, bro. Cooked. I saw a post at least 1,000. Oh, no. Caught that one before. And then Goku says, do you find it a bit hypocritical and a bit LARPy covering Israel when you recently dialed back on calling them Zios and Jew handler and having a Jew handler? Goku, shut the fuck up, dude. How about that? You could go suck a dick. Fuck you. Because I don't sit there and I say, I hate all Jews. You want to sit there and call me a fucking LARPer, you fucking piece of shit. I've lost millions of dollars talking about this shit, and your dumbass want to sit here and send $1 and say, oh, well, don't you find it a bit LARPy covering Israel when you dial back and you talk about Zios and Jews? Shut the fuck up, idiot. You're a fucking retard. Holy shit, people are dumb. What a fucking dumbass. And here's the thing, I'm not even going to ban you for saying that stupid shit. I'm just going to show how retarded you are. You want me to sit here and say, I hate all Jews. No, I'm not doing it. Because I don't. There's people out here that are Jewish that are exposing all the shit. Max Blumenthal made a fantastic documentary that covers the lies of October 7th. Dave Smith just did an interview and made fucking Douglas Murray look like an ass clown. He's Jewish. All right? Some of the people that have been on the front lines of putting the truth out have been Jewish. So you're not going to get me to denounce an entire group of people, and you're not going to get me to denounce people that I'm cool with, like Gary, who's helped me out. And he's also been a very staunch criticizer of Israel. See, people like you that like have this all or nothing thing where it's like, I just hate an entire group of people, you're the fucking problem. Guys like you are what make the rest of us not look credible. You stupid fuck. See, I name names, I go into early life, I talk about their connections, etc. See how I did that with Bill Ackman, etc., and I was able to weave that in? You're dumb as like, this. You're an idiot, dude. You're literally as an idiot. And you, guys like you, fuck up the movement. And you make us lose credibility because your dumbass is unable to identify people that are actually being problematic. Why are you assuming he brought the knife precisely for the track meet? He could have had it in his bag all along and carry it everywhere for self-defense. Also, need to know how big the knife was because in some cases, if it's 5'5" or shorter. Bro, it is weird for a 17-year-old to be carrying a knife around in his backpack. That's weird. That is fucking weird, bro. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that you can sit there and try to sit there and tell me, like, oh, bro, like, it's okay. Like, just carry a knife around in your backpack. So yeah, guys, stay away from retards like this Goku guy that don't differentiate and they just judge people on an entire class or an entire race versus individuals. I look at people from an individual perspective. I don't just paint everybody with one brush and be like, oh yeah, they're all bad. That's retarded. And it's low IQ.
A fire at the governor's mansion, and now a man is facing serious.
This nigga look crazy. What the fuck?
Charges. I lay out the details of what happened in Harrisburg and what police are saying about Cody Ballmer.
Last night, we experienced an attack not just on our family, but on the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania here at the governor's residence.
If you were president, would you ban women from being dating coaches for men? Yes, I would. Would you recommend getting a veil? Oh, got that one. Read it. Let's see here. Some idiot says, Oh, okay.
Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. The governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, and his family were sleeping early Sunday morning when they were pulled from their beds. Someone had broken into the governor's mansion in Harrisburg and set the place on fire with Molotov cocktails. They are lucky to be alive. The photos from inside the governor's mansion are unbelievable. They show the damage done to the dining room and piano room. Police say a man carrying Heineken bottles filled with gasoline broke in and lit them on fire and took off. The Shapiros had celebrated Passover the evening before. You can see a sign mentioning Passover crafts for the children. It's charred along with parts of a Torah and the rest of the rooms. Hours earlier, Shapiro had posted this photo on X of a table at the mansion, which
from the Shapiro's family seated at table to yours, happy Passover, and Chag Pesach Samich.
Wishing people a happy Passover. Police say the man who attacked the mansion is 38-year-old Cody Balmer, and that he later turned himself in to police after his ex-girlfriend called to report that he set the fire. Governor Shapiro held a press conference on Sunday and started off by addressing the public on his perspective of what happened.
Last night at approximately 2 o'clock in the morning, while my family and I were asleep upstairs here at the governor.
Guys, we just passed 1,000 likes. Let's try to get to 2,000, guys. We got 3,800, 4,000 you guys watching live right now between the different platforms. So do me a solid, guys. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, bro.
Governor's residence. One of the state troopers assigned to our detail banged on our door, woke us up and told us we had an emergency and needed to leave immediately. Together, we secured all of our children, our 2 dogs, our family that was staying with us, and the troopers safely evacuated us from the governor's residence.
Now, the investigation, of course, is still ongoing, so the Pennsylvania governor only shares what he knows.
But we do know that this attack was targeted. We don't know the person's specific motive yet, but we do know a few truths. First, this type of violence is not okay. This kind of violence is becoming far too common in our society. And I don't give a damn if it's coming from one particular side or the other, directed at one particular party or another, or one particular person or another. It is not okay. And it has to stop. We have to be better than this. And we have a responsibility to all be better.
I love chat, but just know that 80% of people watching just sit and enjoy this show while actually being productive, not spam, not J-spam chat with nonsense. Much love, all, //. Thank you, appreciate that, Alonzo. That is true. A lot of you guys listen to me while you guys are working and stuff like that. You know, which obviously makes me really happy that I'm able to help you guys get through your workday. But yeah, there's some retards that spam in the chat and say stupid shit. You know what I mean? And say really toxic shit, like calling for violence or whatever. And y'all niggas are going to get banned. That's the one thing, bro, that you will get banned for. You fuck with the audio quality, like crying about the audio quality or like advocating for violence, you're going to get banned, bro. 100% you're going to get banned.
Second.
That's the only thing I'll ban you for. Like some idiot earlier said, oh, Myron only keeps yes men in the chat. Not really, because you guys can literally talk shit about me and you're not banned right now, dumbass. Like I unbanned a bunch of people yesterday that the mods had banned. I unbanned all y'all, right? The only time you'll get banned is if you advocate for violence or if you hurt the quality of the show by spamming / you know, putting audio shit and trolling like some of y'all do. That's the only way, bro. But other than that, bro, I do not ban you guys. I'll let y'all rock, man. You guys say all the stupid shit that you guys say about me, about Gary, whatever. I'll let y'all rock.
If this individual is trying to deter me.
Just so you guys know, other streamers don't do that shit. Go on anybody's Twitch stream. Go on any of these other streamers, start trolling them. Go on any of these niggas. At the FaZe niggas, go on anybody and start trolling them. See what happens. You'll get banned immediately. Their mods do not fuck around. You'll get banned immediately, bro. Immediately timed out, immediately banned, immediately cooked. I'm one of the few streamers that let you guys rock and go crazy. I only have like 1 or 2 rules. Even when you guys say shit that annoys the fuck out of me, I still let it rock. 90% of Jews are Zios. Isn't your whole thing exceptions don't make the rule? LMAO, can't believe I support it all this time. You won't hear from me again, no worries. Then get the fuck out of here, bitch ass nigga. Then get the fuck out of here, Goku, with your $1 super chat. Get the fuck out of here, retard. Get the fuck out of here. All right? You can go ahead and generalize all you want, that's fine. But I'm not going to denounce an entire group of people for what you might call a majority or whatever. That's ridiculous, bro. You see, here's the thing. Some of y'all niggas just hate Jews, and that's fine. But you guys are not going to attribute that to me. I go on a case-by-case basis. And just so you know, retard, most Zionists are actually Christian. Stupid. I don't know if you know that. Most Zionists are actually Christian. The people in the cabinet that are dropping the bombs and doing all the bullshit and the Trump administration, they're Christians. They're not Jewish. So say what you want, bro. Again, I look at it from an individual perspective. Nigga name is Goku. Then go ahead, bro. Teleport your ass out of here. Instant transmission the fuck up out of here. Nobody gives a fuck. Bitch ass nigga.
From doing my job as your governor, rest assured I will find a way to work even harder than I was just yesterday for the good people of Pennsylvania. Here's a third truth. If he was trying to terrorize our family, our friends, the Jewish community who joined us for a Passover Seder in that room last night, hear me on this.
Now, here's the thing, man. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, man. This might be a false flag to pass even more strict anti-Semitism laws. We'll see. We got to do more research on this fucking weirdo that did this dumb shit. But see what I mean? Like, idiots come in and use violence? Fucks everything up.
Yes. We celebrated our faith last night proudly, and in a few hours we will celebrate our second Seder of Passover again proudly. No one will deter me or my family or any Pennsylvanian from celebrating their faith openly and proudly.
Cody Balmer has prior criminal convictions, including for forgery, so I put his name into truthfinder.com to see what might come up. Truthfinder is one of the largest public of the Pennsylvania State Police, Christopher Paris, to discuss the investigation.
So I can confirm at this point, as we put out already, we are conducting an arson investigation, and we're conducting an attempted homicide and aggravated arson investigation. That is the paradigm that we've operated in. A lot of the investigative tasks have focused on the who up until this point. Obviously, we're trying to piece together very early on the exact sequence of events. We were late in coming out here because we were getting rapid information as it was occurring, and I'm pleased to announce that we do have an individual in custody. His name is Cody Balmer, B-A-L-M-E-R, age 38, with a Harrisburg Post Office address.
The DA, Fran Chardo, then takes over to detail how the state intends to handle the case against Cody Balmer.
We are preparing a criminal complaint to charge him, but the charge is willing.
Roscope said, I spoke to Scott Horn this weekend, told him you want to get him on. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, bro. I think he might be scared to come on, bro. I'll be honest with you. So, this Maldives guy, how is it weird for someone under 18 to carry a knife 5.5 when it is legal in some cases? You're doing the same thing the girls do when they say it's weird for a 30-year-old man to date an 18-year-old woman. As long as it's legal, it's fair game. Because you can't carry a knife on school grounds, you fucking dumbass. That's why. Every single school in America has laws and rules where you can't bring in knives into the school, you stupid fuck. It's one thing to carry a gun or something like that in public, but you can't bring a knife onto school property. That's why they have metal detectors, retard. Are you dumb, Maldives? Holy shit, bro. Sometimes, bro, some of y'all niggas that watch the stream, I be thinking that y'all are brain dead idiots, bro. This Maldives nigga's an idiot. The fuck? It's not the equivalent whatsoever. Every school since fucking Columbian, you stupid ass piece of shit, has imposed rules and regulations where students can't bring knives or weapons to school grounds. You dumbass. Holy shit, this nigga's an idiot, bro. How's it? Look at this idiot, bro. He goes, how's it weird for someone under 18 to carry a knife 5.5 or under when it's legal in some cases? You're doing the same thing that girls do when they're say it's weird. A 30-year-old man to date an 8-year-old woman. As long as it's legal, it's their game. It's not legal, stupid fuck. Because he brought it on grounds where it's not legal. You fucking idiot. You fucking idiot. If guns are legal, right? But if I bring a gun into an airport, guess what that's gonna do? Right? And I try to bring it in without declaring it or whatever. I don't bring it in through legal means. I'm gonna get in trouble, even though I have a Second Amendment right. You dumbass. Nigga retarded, bro. You guys are saying no free speech. No, I'm giving him free speech. I'm just cooking him for being an idiot. Bro's trying to sit there and say that, oh, well, it's legal for him to have the knife. Yeah, but not on school grounds, dumbass. No critical thinking skills, Maldives. Call yourself mal-retard, because that's what you are. Clearly, Maldives should be malnourished in the brain, because you are stupid. 67 IQ. And here's the thing. I need to bully some of y'all niggas, because you're stupid. Real talk. Some niggas that say dumb shit in the chat, I need to literally bully y'all, give you guys the big brother love, so you don't go out into the world thinking the stupid shit that you think and saying it out loud and fucking yourselves up. Because some of y'all niggas are really dumb. Really fucking dumb. Incredible. How's it illegal for him to have a knife, bro? Yeah, can't bring a knife to school, idiot. Same reason you can't bring a gun to school, idiot. Same reason you can't bring fucking weapons to school, idiot. You heard of Columbian? Yeah, that changed the fucking schooling system in America when it came to security. Why do you think there's cops at so many different schools now? Dumbass. Why are there metal detectors? Dumbass. Damn, nigga retarded. The fuck? I guess common sense isn't common anymore. Dan says, for every one retard, there's 10 quiet enjoyers of the show. Keep it the great quality content. I appreciate that, Dan. Thank you very much.
Include attempted murder, terrorism, aggravated arson, and aggravated...
Nigga, literally, Garrett fucking T and Maldives is one of them.
Assault against an enumerated person. These are all very serious charges. As with any charges, the defendant is presumed innocent. We will file those charges within the next several hours, and we will include a probable cause affidavit which will detail the basis for this arrest.
The affidavit filed with the criminal complaint goes into detail about what Ballmer is accused of doing, and there's video of it, according to police. Authorities aren't releasing any of that footage yet, but during the press conference, Lieutenant Colonel George Biving goes into some detail about how Cody Ballmer made entry onto the premises.
So this individual came over a fence and right behind where all of you are standing right now. He actively evaded troopers who were here to secure the residence, even while they were searching for him on the property. While they were searching is when he attacked at the residence, broke in and set the fires. So that was all playing out over a period of several minutes. It was a very quick event that occurred, and again, troopers were actively searching for him at the time.
What did he use to start the fire?
He had some homemade incendiary devices.
Molotov cocktail?
I'm not going to provide a lot more detail on that right now. A lot of material has been collected.
And just so you guys know, the state police also act as protection for the governor. Think of the state police almost as like the Secret Service for the governor. You know, that's why when the governor moves around, he's always going to have like a state police detail with him. Because obviously as a public official, as the head of the state, technically, quite literally the head of the state, he's going to need protection as well. So that's why the state police are taking over this arson investigation in this case. They'll probably bring in the feds, maybe some ATF agents to help them. But most states actually do have like arson teams that investigate this stuff at a very detailed level.
And is being analyzed, but I think homemade device describes it for right now. So there is already a security review underway to determine how we can ensure that we don't have a repeat of a situation like this. We look at all aspects: personnel, technical surveillance equipment, security equipment. All of that will be reviewed, and we will do our best to ensure that the governor and his family are safe in this residence.
Now, the criminal complaint discusses just how significant the damage was that was caused by this fire throughout the piano room and the dining room of the mansion. During the search, investigators located those 2 broken glass bottles, which were later confirmed by the Pennsylvania Fire Marshal to be Heineken beer bottles containing gasoline. Investigators then tracked Ballmer's escape path through...
So he did have Molotov cocktails. Man, bro, that is an intense fire right there, man.
Privately owned security cameras, and they found 2 gloves in a trash can, matching the ones worn by the defendant depicted in the footage. One is yellow and one is orange. It was noted that the gloves smelled strongly of gasoline. Now, you might be wondering, how did police catch up with Cody Ballmer? The affidavit states, during the investigation, PSP Harrisburg was contacted by a female who advised that her ex-paramour, Cody Ballmer, was the individual responsible for setting the fire at the governor's residence. When asked why this individual believed Ballmer set the fire, this individual related Ballmer confessed to the act and wanted her to call police to turn him in. A short time later, a member of the Pennsylvania State Police was approached outside department headquarters located on Elmerton Avenue by a male identified as Cody Ballmer. Ballmer informed the trooper he was responsible for the fire in the governor's residence and wished to turn himself in. Ballmer was then transported to PSP Harrisburg, where he was interviewed in relation to the investigation. Now, police say they advised Ballmer of his rights and that he confessed to the attack on the governor's mansion. The affidavit states, Ballmer admitted to harboring hatred toward Governor Shapiro. He advised on the date in question he removed gasoline from a lawnmower and poured it into Heineken bottles he found at his residence.
What the fuck?
Ballmer advised he walked for approximately 1 hour from his residence to the governor's residence with the intention of throwing his homemade Molotov cocktails into the residence. Ballmer admitted that, once at the residence, he scaled the perimeter fence, broke 2 windows with a hammer, and threw the Molotov cocktails inside. Now, police...
All right. Let's see if he's going to make a comment about why he did this. Let's see.
Said Ballmer told them he knew the governor and his family might be at the mansion and that they could be hurt and that his actions would have negative consequences.
Oh, this nigga cooked. He admitted all that to the cops? Yep. R.I.P. He is cooked.
And police say that Ballmer was willing to do more. Ballmer was asked specifically what he would have done if Governor Shapiro found him inside of his residence, to which he advised he would have beaten him with his hammer. Police said they later...
What the fuck? You can tell this guy's off his rocker. Look, fucking hair all fucked up and shit.
Found Ballmer's clothing that he was wearing during the attack. He is awaiting his arraignment in custody at the Dauphin County Prison. A search of his Facebook account showed a 2021 photo that looked like he wasn't a big fan.
Joe Biden owes me $2,000? What the fuck, bro?
Fan of Joe Biden saying he owes me $2,000. It's not clear what his political affiliation is because he seemed to take shots at both sides in a 2020 post. Ballmer pleaded guilty to forgery and theft in 2015 and another forgery charge in 2016, and he has an open assault case from 2023. But this past weekend, thanks to swift action of the Pennsylvania State Police, this senseless crime did not harm the governor or his family. The governor reminds everyone.
I'm not fearful. I'm obviously emotional. I'm worried about my family. I want my kids to be okay. When we were in the state dining room last night, gathered with the community and family and friends, we told the story of Passover, and it's a story of going from bondage, from slavery, into freedom. I think it's an important story, both literally and figuratively, to tell. And I refuse to be trapped by the bondage that someone attempts to put on me by attacking.
Guys, we are at 1,200 likes at the moment, man. Let's get to 2,000 ninjas. Let's get this engagement up. 2,000. Let's get it to 2,000, my ninjas. We got about 4,000 you guys in here. So
attacking us as they did here last night. I refuse to let anyone who had evil intentions like that stop me from doing the work that I love, stop me from being a leader of this Commonwealth and looking out for all Pennsylvanians. I will not be deterred in my work, and I will not be afraid to do that work.
So I want to bring in Matt Mangino. He is a former prosecutor who lives in Pennsylvania. He also has been to the governor's mansion. So, Matt, I want to know your first reaction when you heard about what happened. I mean, I was stunned when I heard that this had happened.
Yeah, it was shocking, Anjanette, to hear that someone would be bold enough to try to commit or to actually commit an arson at the governor's mansion. Well, the governor and his family are at home.
Yeah, no doubt. So this guy, Cody Ballmer, he is the one charged with attempted murder. He's charged with arson, terrorism, a whole laundry list of charges. I've got the probable cause affidavit right here. And in it, it says that Cody Ballmer climbs over the fence. He gets in there. He's got 2 Heineken bottles with gasoline in them. He puts these things in there, starts this fire, and then he takes off. And then apparently his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend calls and tells the police he did it. Then he apparently turns himself in and says, yeah, I did it. Seems very odd. Your thought?
Yeah, this reeks of some strange shit. Never mind, the ninjas are stupid. They can call you an asshole, but never a liar. O/OSS. I appreciate that, white boy James. I appreciate that, bro. Yeah, it just sucks, bro, because sometimes I be thinking the people that watch are like higher IQ, but no, a lot of retards that watch the show too. So, what can you do? Guys, we're at 1,300. Let's get to 2,000 ninjas. I don't want to have to stop the show. So yeah. See, like for example, I'll show you a perfect example of an idiot right now. So This idiot, his name is Rumbler, sends in a $2 super chat. Says, Myron has a J manager. He is literally a Trojan horse, letting the Jays flock the JQ movement. Great idea. Let the Jews manage the JQ movement. See, people like you, bro, you just don't get taken seriously. You just don't get taken seriously. If that's what you think, then okay, man. Go watch someone else, bro. You don't have to watch this. Go watch someone else. I'm not going to sit here and argue with you when it comes to what I do. I told you guys before, I'll say it again. I am the one that dictates all the content I make. Nobody tells me what I can and can't say. That is why I fucking have been demonetized and shit like that and banned. So no one controls what I say, bro. Like I said before, Gary and Fresh work together to make behind-the-scenes stuff happens, guests, stuff like that, logistical stuff. Running a big podcast obviously requires a lot of logistics, which you would know nothing about because you're a fucking internet-dwelling retard. But yeah, bro, that's basically what it is. So, look, you want to say that? All right, man. No problem, dude. You don't have to watch the pod. Go somewhere else then. Find it amazing then that if I'm so compromised or a Trojan horse that you're here.
On this, because it seems like this guy's got some potential major issues.
Yeah, that whole scenario is really strange. First of all, the idea that someone could breach the fence that surrounds the governor's mansion with Molotov cocktails and be able to not only use the Molotov cocktail by throwing it through the window, but also entering the governor's mansion in the state dining room and using another Molotov cocktail there to cause, terrible damage. The most recent reports that I've read also indicate that this guy said he had a hammer with him. And when he entered the home, if he would have saw the governor, his intent was to beat him with the hammer. So these are very, very troubling issues
mods, deal with the shit on Rumble chat. Myron, please let the mods know Angelica doxed the chat homie David De Niro. Well, David De Niro is annoying fuck. I'm not gonna lie. He's annoying as fuck. But mods, go ahead and deal with that, man. Like, guys, just stop fucking being idiots, bro. Just stop being idiots. I don't want to ban anybody. Even you niggas that annoy the fuck out of me and are stupid, low IQ like David De Niro. Like, look, just stop being idiots, guys. Stop being idiots in chat, bro. God damn, man. Fucking children, bro.
Certainly we want to know, number one, the reason why. That I've read just generally that he had some disdain for the governor, but that's a great deal of disdain that you would go there knowing that he and his family most likely are there and start this fire at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think you raise a very important question. I mean, he had a security detail there. The governor did. How on earth does this guy get over? How does he get over there and breach the property? That's a question that we need answered. But the level of disdain, I mean, what's going on there? Because that seems to me, he apparently had some disdain for Joe Biden, according to some stuff on his Facebook and stuff like that. But what is going on with this guy? I mean, because the governor, thank God, got out with his family and they weren't hurt. But we got to figure out what's going on with this guy.
Well, right. And the district attorney in Dauphin County, which is Harrisburg, the state capital, has indicated that he's going to look at this further as a potential hate crime. Because don't forget, this is Passover. Governor Shapiro just had.
Yeah, they're definitely going to potentially look at this as a hate crime. I wonder if the guy that got arrested admitted that he did it for potential religious reasons or whatever. This is going to be very interesting to see what this guy's motive was.
Passover dinner with his family and friends. He's Jewish, and this individual comes there at 2 a.m. after the party has ended and attempts to harm the governor and harm his family. So is in Pennsylvania, it's called the Ethnic Intimidation Act, and it's an act of violence that tries to intimidate somebody based on religion in this situation. So I'm sure that's going to be examined as well here. But there are serious charges: attempted murder, terrorism, which is using violence to try to intimidate an official or to influence some government action. So Pennsylvania has these statutes available, and I'm sure the ethnic intimidation statute is going to be looked at very closely as well.
You have been to the governor's mansion before. So talk to us a little bit about, you said you've been there for state dinners, et cetera. So talk to me a little bit about what it's like to go there. Obviously, it's a very fancy place, but you've probably have you been into the room where this fire was set?
Yes, I looked at the news reports and some photographs today, and it appears that the fire was set in the state dining room where the governor would normally have dinners for invited guests. And, that's what surprised me, Anjanette, is that, I know security is very tight there, and that the state police guard the governor and the governor's family, and they're there 24 hours. So in a sense, and I know Governor Shapiro has went out of his way to thank the state police and other first responders who took care of this matter so quickly and protected him and his family, and I certainly appreciate that. But I think it begs the question: is how does somebody get over the wall, get over the fence, get to the house, get into the house, start a fire, and then be able to get out and scale the wall again? I'm sure that the Pennsylvania State Police are concerned about this, and they're going to look through their policies and their procedures and how they react to things and what amount of security they have. I'm sure this is something that's going to be a learning process for the state police as well. But it is shocking that it could happen, with the governor in the residence at the time with his family.
Do you anticipate federal charges being filed in this case?
Well, that's a possibility as well, because of I guess, it's going to take some analysis of what prompted this individual to do what he did. The federal government could become involved.
Yeah, feds could definitely come in. I wouldn't be surprised if ATF wasn't involved in helping them with the fire stuff. But the state, a lot of these states have really good forensic labs that can really, get down to some stuff.
In this, Fran Chardo, the district attorney in Dauphin County, is very competent and has been a district attorney there for a while and was an assistant district attorney for a long time. So that office is well suited to proceed with this prosecution, whether it's terrorism, which has already been charged, or ethnic intimidation and other factors. So I don't think the state has any problem proceeding with this case and effectively prosecuting it. But the federal government, I'm sure, is always there to lend a hand if, in fact, that's needed.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it and see where it goes. Just really disturbing. Matt Mangino, thank you so much.
So interesting stuff. Also, breaking news. Apparently, a Palestinian student, got arrested by ICE when he went to go. Let's see what happened here. U.S. immigration authorities summoned, someone put breaking news here. U.S. immigration authorities summoned Columbia student leader Mohsen Madawi to a citizenship interview in Vermont and then detained him without a charge. He now faces deportation to the occupied West Bank. That's crazy. And we'll watch this video here in a second. Let me read some of these chats so I make sure I catch up with you guys. Baby Trauma says, Goku was that one kid in class that would show up early on the first day of school to figure out where his classes were ahead of time. Facts, bro. Facts. Some of these niggas are retarded. Fresh updates. Like the video. I appreciate that, guys. I had the same thought regarding his arson being a false flag. The timing and target is too perfect. Yep. Since Ivy League schools are pushing back, they'll need another catalyst to impose their agenda. Absolutely, YME. I agree with you on that one. That loser Goku is still here? I know he is, Kim Pop. Speedy says, if you're a president, would you ban... Oh, no, got that one from earlier. And then let's go ahead here and look. Did I miss any Rumble rants or anything? Weird. Did they link the wrong Rumble channel or some shit? Because some odd reason it's not. All right. Something's off. The Rumble rants aren't showing up on my page. Okay. Sonic says, Myron, I know me and some of the chat niggas annoy you at times, but I want to say you are the GOAT and thank you for taking the time to stream. I appreciate that, Sonic. Yes, they do annoy me because most people would have banned y'all niggas by now. Because I'm not going to lie, bro. It's extremely distracting and it takes away from the show for me to address a lot of these trolls in the chat with their low IQ takes or super chats. Most people would have banned y'all by now. I mean, the fact that I unbanned you guys and let you guys say things that you want is a testament in itself. But any other streamer would have been cooked to you guys a long time ago. Yo, Myron, I've been granted hide for 5 months, cut off friends and girls like you said. This is from Myron Jr.'s back. But now I'm less social and less confident. Should I add social time or stay locked in? Stay locked in. Don't be a bitch. Mary says, I have a question about dual citizenship in Mexico. Consultant mentioned issue in my paperwork. Can the U.S. government help? They suggest I go to Mexico to resolve it. Only if you're a citizen, I would go. Myra, please, your mods keep banning accounts for hate speech even though we're not spamming. LJ Scales. as long as you're not advocating for violence. Myron, where are your mods? This is spamming and doxing going on in your chat. I would have handled it, but my mod badge was taken away. This is from Santo. Nima Yamini, love this evolution of Myron. Now, fuck you, nigga. We still don't fuck with you. Give me my mod back. I saw it since the beginning. I would have handled it. Nima Yamini said, we are hardworking, loyal people. That's why Myron has a Jewish manager. Anti-Semites are blinded by hate. Well, here's the thing, bro. He disagrees with the Jewish state of Israel. There's a difference. L retard W Myron, you gonna do anything with Zerk anytime soon? If so, they can call you an asshole, but never a liar. Facts. I don't know what Zerk is doing, bro. I've reached out to him. He doesn't answer. Roscopo, I talked to Scarhorn. Oh no, read that one before. Cancel my cast club from Wizards. Okay, good. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, bro. Let's see. I think I read all the. Did I read all the Rumble rants? Wizard says Myron can't control his emotions like a 304. Okay, sure. Thank you for the comment. Cool. All right, let's show this. So he's a U.S. permanent resident originally from the occupied West Bank. And ICE agents grabbed him up in Vermont. Oh, HSI grabbed him. Wow.
When we say that our lives are endangered here, and I know it because I lived it before.
Before the interview, Mawson expressed concerns that the appointment could be a trap. Bro, new. Nice Columbia student facing deportation. Hundreds of students in the U.S. have had their visas revoked under the Trump administration. He's a philosophy student and leader of the Palestinian Union.
We know history, and we know that Colombia is standing on the wrong side of history.
And look at this. Mawson was the target of an intense doxing campaign in recent months. And you guys know who paid for these doxing campaigns? Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman and a bunch of other pro-Zionist organizations paid to have the student protesters doxed, by the way. FYI, which is very interesting. Huh.
A counter-protester comes towards me out of the crowd, and he calls me by name, and he said, Mozen Medawi, I'm going to take your life. I'm going to kill you.
That's crazy.
And I smiled at him, and I said, what are you afraid of, the truth? The university has turned a blind eye to all cases of discrimination and all cases of clear hate speech against us.
So he was communicating with the Jewish community. He grew up in the West Bank through Israeli occupation.
When I was 5 years old, seeing the Israeli army blasting into our home, coming to arrest my uncles. When I was 11 years old, my uncle Thayer, he was assassinated on the hands of the Israeli army. And when I was 12 years old, they killed 7 Palestinians from the refugee camp.
It's fucked up what's going on over there.
In the middle of the night, I collected their body parts with my own hands. I peeled their skin off the wall. I put their body.
And this is the reality, guys, in the West Bank, man, and in Palestine in general with the occupation, man. It's fucked.
Body parts in plastic bags. No child should experience this. I was 12 years old at that time. I saw my best friend getting shot in front of my eyes on the hand of an Israeli soldier. And when I was 15, an Israeli soldier shot me in my leg. That changes the way how we feel. The way
Damn, bro. Holy.
way how we see the world.
Huh. Bro put the peace sign up when they were grabbing him. That's fucking funny. Yeah, that's wild. And this happened literally it happened today, chat. So, wow. Absolutely crazy, bro. Arresting students for speech. Absolutely nuts. Let's see here. Let's get into the White House visit from Trump and El Salvador president.
My panel is here now, and I want to start with you.
Let me see here, make sure I didn't miss anything. Andrea, $50. I appreciate that, Andrea. Thank you very much. Michael Young, just because you don't agree with the take doesn't mean it's low IQ unless it's a straight up troll. Not sure why you still respond to the one saying your manager who's a Jewish control arguments like that. I'm just letting them know that they're dumb, bro. Myron, ignore the retards. There's lots of high IQ people watching. The dumb people are always loud. Yeah, that's true. That's true, Samuel. Here's the thing, bro. I just don't want to stop interacting with you guys because of a few idiots, right? W. Myron, the ninjas are stupid. You can tell they're assholes. Yep. Because the thing is, if I start ignoring the chat, like everybody else suffers because of these dudes being idiots, not having not having critical thinking skills.
You, Priscilla, and talk about some of the news, but also just this scene in the Oval Office, that Bukele is somebody who so gets Donald Trump. He obviously is, either he's very much like Donald Trump, or he is has the emotional intelligence of sort of an Einstein, because he knew exactly what to say to please him. He knew exactly the sort of triggers, if you will, whether it was DEI or trans in sports or attacking the media.
Let's take a step back in time here. When President Trump won in November, the first thing I heard from multiple sources was keep an eye on El Salvador. And this Oval Office meeting is exactly why they were saying that. This has been built up over time. Administration officials knew that El Salvador would play ball with the Trump administration, that they would be willing to do a lot for the administration when it came to his key signature issue, and that is, of course, immigration. And the president himself said there, it is his, quote, best relationship. And because of that, you can see why this gets so complicated against the backdrop of the case of Guillermo Abrego Garcia and his mistaken deportation to El Salvador. You heard there from the Attorney General that it's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. Then you heard the Salvadoran president say, well, I don't have the power to do that, and doing that would be smuggling in this man. Total disregard for the opportunity for two governments to work together to rectify what court documents have shown was a wrong by the administration themselves, by the way, admitting to this wrong. It's also what the courts and the federal judges have been saying over the last several weeks, which is this lack of desire by the administration to try to retrieve this man from this notorious mega prison. Now, in addition to all of this, though, the president was saying that he's willing to send and wants to send many more migrants to this notorious mega prison. There was a moment there where they were boasting about security and who has the better security, the United States or El Salvador. The president quite keen on what's happening in El Salvador, even going so far as to say he wants more facilities there to hold migrants, including, he seemed to suggest he'd be open to U.S. citizens being down there. All of this, by the way, Dan, as I'm also talking to my sources, has been talked about behind the scenes. Administration officials open to sending more people there, opening up more facilities there. Some of those proposals, by the way, coming from private military contractors who want to be part of this.
And I think, again, taking a step back, what you saw was a hot potato being passed in the Oval Office. Because on the one hand, you have the Attorney General before this meeting saying, well, we could send a plane down to get this Maryland man, and then you have Stephen Miller saying, well, and also the Secretary of State saying, why would we do that? He's not from here. He's from El Salvador. And then, of course, as you mentioned, the Salvadoran leader saying something completely different. And this notion that, as you kind of alluded to, Priscilla, that these two leaders can't just sit down and work it out. They obviously can't. They don't want to.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's the key point is, look, El Salvador is essentially a contractor of the United States. They are taking money to put up a prison. In principle, I actually have no...
Now, they're referring, guys, because a Maryland guy, if I'm not mistaken, El Salvadoran guy, was basically arrested. He had been here, I think, if I'm not mistaken, on temporary protective status. He got deported, wrongfully so, because they didn't mean to deport him. I think he got the mistaken identity or whatever. And now he's back in El Salvador, and he's in a prison with a bunch of, like, terrorists and very violent criminals. And this obviously caused an uproar in the Democratic Party. So that's what they're basically talking about with this El Salvador President Trump.
No real problem with that. The problem with it for them is that if it's an American facility, even by proxy, it is open to the jurisdiction of American courts. And I think that's the real reason why they don't want to return this guy. I think they don't care about the political headache of one man. The problem is if they concede the point that they can ask for him to be sent back and they send him back.
He's not an MS-13 member, bro. They thought he was, but he's not. He's not. And that's why there's such an uproar.
That means they can ask for all of them to be sent back,
right,
which is the thing they never want to concede in court. And so they're stonewalling on this one guy so that they can proceed with this much larger project. What I don't understand about any of this is that, well, first of all, why they didn't just do the proper process? Immigration judges are Article 2 judges. They work for the President of the United States. There's a process at the Justice Department.
Michael Young says, Myron with the keto taco flavored chips. You know it, Quest chips. If you don't fire for these immigrants, this from Sam, you'll lose your country. Wish I was joking. Love from Germany to you, Myron. Nah, bro, we don't need more immigrants. Where's that dude being deported to? Oh, Palestine. I'm sure there isn't anything happening there. Are people hearing that coming that nigga's cooked? I don't really understand your comment there, Joe, but okay.
Where they could have actually had the order rescinded. They just didn't want to do it because it wasn't manly enough or something. But secondly is like, if you have Eric Prince doing this stuff and you're setting up American-owned or contracted-out prisons in El Salvador, they are American facilities subject to American law and American courts' jurisdiction. So I don't understand what problem they think they're solving there.
Stand by. I want to go to Caitlin Collins. Caitlin, you were there. You were asking some of the questions of the president and tried to ask a question of the Salvadoran leader. What were your takeaways?
I mean, essentially, they are making very clear that this Maryland man who was, by the own Justice Department's acknowledgement, mistakenly deported to El Salvador in recent weeks, that he will not be returned to the United States. That was the argument that the president was making as they were offering their own interpretation of that Supreme Court filing that said that the administration must facilitate Albrego Garcia's return to the United States. And they were essentially arguing that that was not the case, that then the courts would be trying to intervene in foreign policy, which is strictly in the purview of the President of the United States. And Stephen Miller, who, of course, is one of the president's top advisors, was there standing next to me inside the Oval Office and was saying that that is essentially a question that is better positioned to the president of El Salvador. I then asked President Bukele his interpretation of that, and he essentially likened it to smuggling a terrorist back into the United States if he returned this man who was mistakenly deported to his country and is still being held there based on a filing that we saw over this weekend. And so he was essentially scoffing at the idea of returning him. And so I think one thing coming out of that was clear, as we're in the middle of this huge court fight between this man's attorneys and the White House and the Justice Department on this, is that they do not plan to ask the president of El Salvador to return this man or to help
Bro, I can't tell if she's mad or happy, man. Those eyebrows are crazy.
Facilitate his return as he's being held in that notorious mega prison in El Salvador. And so you heard the administration's argument. Obviously, that is something that is going to come up in court filings coming out of this, because they have said by their own acknowledgement that it was an administrative error that he was deported to El Salvador after.
Yeah, this is true. And bro, look, I know some of you guys are saying that he was MS-13. That was a mistake. He was not MS-13, because even J.D. Vance admitted this, that there was an error.
Being granted protection in 2019 here in the United States by an immigration judge, essentially saying out of fear of persecution that he could not be sent back to El Salvador. And so certainly a hardline stance that we just saw coming out of the Oval Office on this, which is notable.
Oh, Sam means with immigrants, I mean the people being deported for criticism of Israel. Yeah. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy.
Dana.
Getting deported for political speech is a fucking issue. That's a big problem.
Because just a few days ago on Air Force One, after that Supreme Court ruling came out that had some confusion in it in terms of, essentially giving the White House a deadline to have this man returned, the president said if the Supreme Court said that someone had to be returned, that he would abide by that ruling. And so I asked him about that just now during that back and forth inside the Oval Office. And clearly their position on this has changed, which Stephen Miller has been articulating and saying that they do not plan to return this man.
Yeah, that was the question after listening to all of that I had. And of course, you asked it, Caitlin, about the Supreme Court, because we were planning on running that clip from the president saying explicitly that he has respect for the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says they have to get him back, that they would. And the fact that he deflected in his answer to you, I'll just describe it that way, I thought was very noteworthy.
Yeah. Okay. And Dana, can I also say, as I was listening to after they said it was a question for the president of El Salvador, I asked him outright, did he plan to help facilitate his return? Obviously, he could easily do so. President Trump was sitting next to him, and I don't know if you could see this on the camera, but he was essentially beaming as he was listening to one of his closest allies, obviously the first leader of Latin America to visit the White House, which is a statement in and of itself, as he was making that argument that no, they would not return him. He called it, the quote was preposterous on this notion of returning the Maryland man that they say was wrongly deported to his country.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you so much, Caitlin. Thanks for jumping out to the North Lawn to come on with us. Appreciate it. Tia, I do want to bring in some of what we have been talking about, and specifically talk about this.
Jacob White says, Israel's making another ceasefire proposal, seeing as what they did on the last ceasefire. What do you think their true intentions are? They might try to get more hostages out. They might try to get more hostages out because there are riots all across Israel when it comes to these hostages, because they've pretty much caught on that your boy Netanyahu doesn't really care about the hostages. So that might be why. And then also they're trying to also bide more time to plan a strike against Iran as well. They're trying to get their forces some rest so they can also attack Iran, because they absolutely want to attack Iran. They want to bomb Iran. They've been trying to do it for years, but now is the weakest Iran's been in a very long time.
Notion of U.S. citizens potentially being sent there. Jonah said, well, maybe if El Salvador is effectively a contractor, or we contract El Salvador to be the place where we send prisoners, maybe that is a thing that's going to happen. I just want our viewers to listen again to what the president said on this topic.
I'd like to go a step further. I mean, I said it to Pam. I don't know what the laws are. We always have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways, that hit elderly ladies on the back of the head with a baseball bat when they're not looking, that are absolute monsters. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country.
Yeah, I think it's, again, it's very troubling, not just because the unprecedented, change in policy of putting U.S. citizen prisoners and potentially putting them outside of the country for whatever sentencing or even awaiting sentencing. Because again, these flights to El Salvador, yes, there are undocumented immigrants, but most of them have not been accused of wrongdoing outright. There's been no evidence to really justify their deportations. So what happens if that lack of due process begins to trickle down to U.S. citizens as well? What happens when a U.S. citizen perhaps is detained, but then as the case unfolds, there is justification to say, hey, maybe they were wrongfully arrested.
Hey guys, we're at 1,400 likes, man. Let's get to 2,000, guys. Let's get to 2,000. Do me a favor. Let's get 500. We're gonna be starting Fresh and Fit here pretty soon. We're gonna be covering money with Steve. Okay, gonna be covering money with Steve. So it's gonna be huge. We're gonna be covering. It's as you guys know, we're 2 days away from tax season. And yeah. Let me see where the bros are. What are we at? We're at We're at $14.95, guys. Let's get 2K.
And then what if the government?
We're at 1522, guys. Let's hit 1600, ninjas. Let's hit 1600. This is crazy. This lady look crazy, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Hold it. Myron, do you think the EU will continue the Ukraine war? I'm worried about a draft left from Germany. Man, they might, bro. They might. Trump's negotiations aren't working as well as I thought and many others thought. That dude is being deported to Palestine where the genocide is happening. Then boys will have him renditioned off, plane to a shallow grave somewhere, deported to death, potentially. The West Bank isn't as bad as Gaza. He's from the West Bank, guys. They're going to send him back to, they're not going to send him to Gaza. They're going to send him to West Bank. But West Bank is obviously going through some bullshit too.
Government says, well, they're already
1544, guys. 60 more likes. Less than 60 more likes. 50 likes at this point. Get us to 1600.
there. We can't do anything about it. So it leads to a lot of questions. And again, because what we've seen already with undocumented immigrants, I just think it could lead to a really dark.
All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's close out some of this stuff. We covered a lot of news today, guys. Oh, this is the nigga? Bro.
It is Monday night, and the big story on Action News tonight is...
Bro, look crazy, chat. You see that? What the hell?
Breaking right now. This the scene just moments ago in Harrisburg as the man accused of setting fire...
Bro, looks crazy.
...to the Pennsylvania governor's mansion over the weekend walked inside to face a judge. 38-year-old Cody Balmer arraigned tonight on several charges, including attempted murder and terrorism. Now, investigators say Balmer admitted to breaking into the governor's residence early Sunday morning, intent on harming Josh Shapiro. Police say he lit two
This dude looks crazy, bro. They must have caught him when he was high or some shit like that. Holy.
Molotov cocktails, igniting an intense fire inside the mansion as the governor and his family slept upstairs. Tonight, in addition to all the questions about why he did this, investigators are also asking how. How did he get onto that property and inside the mansion under 24-hour state police protection? We have got live.
That's wild. Let's see this. This comes from the
Do you plan to ask President Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported? The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
I think that's the chick from CNN. This is her asking a question.
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019...
Oh, that's Pam Bondi. Okay, so we got J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, and Pam Bondi. Also, fucking J.D. Vance dropped a goddamn statue today. I'll pull that up on X for you guys and show you, not a statue, excuse me, a trophy.
19, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
So will you return him, President Bukele?
And you are doing a great job. Thank you. But Stephen Miller, wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, you know, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant because they're totally slanted because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody is watching them. But would you answer?
So nobody's watching him.
That question also, please.
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would...
And yes, if you guys are wondering, Stephen Miller, yep.
Even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. as 2 immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world, and I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan to ask for it to get him back?
And what was the ruling in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0.
In our favor?
In our favor, against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As Pam said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual, at El Salvador's sole discretion, was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time.
Well,
no version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him.
I asked President Bukele, can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm supposed you're not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right? How can I return him to the United States? Like I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
But you can release him inside El Salvador.
Yeah, but I'm not releasing, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country. We just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country of the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into the releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? No, that's not going to happen.
Well, they'd love to have a criminal, released into our
there's a fascination.
They would love it.
Yeah.
They're sick. These are sick people. Marco, do you have something to say?
Bro, he's always taking shots at CNN, bro. It's funny.
Yeah, Stephen Island, I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador.
And here's Marco Rubio. Guys, we are at 8 likes away from 1,600 ninjas. Let's get to 2,000, guys. Let's get to 2,000. We're almost at 1,600. We're about 7 away from 1,600. So let's get to 1,700 and then work our way up to 2,000. Get that engagement up. That is how we build the show up, man. That's how we build it up.
He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin. Except for Venezuela, that wasn't refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President. No, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple. End of story.
And that is why he's using that statute from the INA, by the way, chat, okay? That is why he's using that statute to deport these college students, okay? He's using the statute from the INA where basically if the illegal alien, right, at least for Khalil Mahmoud, this is what he's using. The guy, as you guys know, the Columbian student that was first arrested for this stuff, they're using if the alien presents hardship when it comes to foreign policy, they are deportable. That is what Marco Rubio is using because it makes it difficult for the courts to challenge that, because number one, it's never been used before, and number two, it's fairly nebulous and opaque, and then also third, the president runs foreign policy. That is why Marco Rubio specifically used that statute from the Immigration Nationality Act to initiate the removal proceedings for Mahmoud Khalil.
And that's what the Supreme Court held, by the way, to Marco's point. The Supreme Court said exactly what Marco said. that no court has the authority to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children. But President Trump, his policy is foreign terrorists that
I love how they just like keep taking shots at CNN. It's entertaining, bro. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Like, they make fun of CNN for their ratings and how they're radically left and losers and shit like that. It's always entertaining.
are here illegally get expelled from the country, which, by the way, is a 90-10 issue.
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago, and they said that it must be facilitated.
How long do we have to answer their questions?
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You know, you have...
Look, yo, you guys know, right, that I'm not a pussy. I am not on the Trump payroll. I am not, you know, on the guest list over at Mar-a-Lago every single time they have a party. You know, I have criticized Trump openly when it comes to his open support of the Zionist lobby, AIPAC, etc., Mira Mendelsohn. I have been openly critical of that. But one thing I will say is this nigga is wildly entertaining when it comes to talking to adversarial media organizations like CNN. This shit is funny. Because look, guys, prior to Donald Trump, this level of just shitting on the media never existed. You would never catch Bush or Obama or any of these guys attacking reporters the way that Trump attacks these reporters. It's funny as hell, bro. And honestly, we're probably never going to see a president like this ever again. That shits on the media openly like this, and it's entertaining. Even you look. Even the president of El Salvador, he's loving this shit. He's like, yeah, this is hilarious. You know what I mean? So he's funny, bro. One thing I will always remember about the Trump administrations and Donald Trump in general is that he was an entertaining ass president. Unlike, you know, other presidents that were boring as fuck. Because, bro, if you watch like old Obama press conferences or Bush or any of these guys, they were super professional, super polite, super nice. Even when they dealt with Democrats or Republicans, their adversarial party, they were always extremely polite and nice. You know, a high level of decorum was exercised. But with this guy, there's no fucks given, bro.
No credibility. Please, go ahead.
President Trump, thank you so much. How many illegal criminals are you planning on exporting to El Salvador? And President Bukele, how many are you willing to take from the U.S.?
As many as possible. And I just asked the president, you know, it's this massive complex that he built, jail complex.
Guys, this is not Prime. This is Gorilla Mind. Don't ever fucking insult me like that ever again, niggas. This is Gorilla Mind. This is not fucking Prime, you fucking dickheads. Not drinking no goddamn Prime. The fuck?
Can you build some more of them, please? As many as we can get out of our country that were allowed in here by incompetent Joe Biden through open borders. Open borders. You probably hear open borders and you can't even understand it because nobody can understand. Nobody smart or with common sense can understand it. So we have millions of people that should not be in this country.
All right, so what else do we got here? We're coming up to almost. Oh, here we go. Dean Withers gets shut down by Jared Taylor at Q&A event.
Yes. Oh.
Let's turn up this volume for you guys. Shout out to Jared Taylor. I got to get him on the pod. I was communicating with him, but I think I just missed him.
Well, wait.
We're gonna do a Q.
No, you can ask a question.
We're gonna do a Q&A, and then you like it? For sure.
And please ask a question. Yes. Oh well. Speak loudly.
We'll speak loudly. Okay, I have a handful of questions for you. I thought.
All right, so that's Dean Withers. I could tell from his bitch ass nigga voice.
One at a time.
Let's ask one at a time. I thought I'd start here. So first and foremost, you told us that obviously over the course of 45 minutes that diversity is not a strength of America, anybody in America or any country in the world. Here's my question. When I look at immigration into America from any country on the face of this planet, 2 hours. I see that it brings great prosperity, not just to our economy, but to the average qualities of life of everybody in our country. Migrants over the course of the next 10 years are projected to add $1.7 trillion to the American GDP. Undocumented migrants today pay $100 billion per tax in year. So if you want to tell me that you think getting rid of racial diversity is placing America first, it's coming at an expense of $1.7 trillion over the course of the next 10 years. And
What is your question, please?
How do you consolidate the fact that you think America would be better if only white people were within it, with the facts that I just shared you about the economic advantage of racial diversity in our country?
Because economics. Man does not live by bread alone. Do you think money is all that matters? By no means. Money is by no means. What I would tell you is this. I listed many of the dangers, many of the conflicts that are inevitable when you have racial diversity. And you're telling me with a little bit more GDP, all that can be made not to matter. Now, what I would suggest to you is, come on, let me talk. All you're saying is the GDP would grow. How would the GDP handle without them? It might grow just as fine. Again, these are not merely economic questions. These are questions of cultural and racial survival. Next question, please.
Well, I think before
not you.
Of course, you don't want to hear from me more.
No, I think you can ask. You can ask another question later.
Well, I think
one at a time. Let someone else ask a question. We might get back to you.
That's funny. Jared Taylor's a very smart man, Yale graduate. He doesn't talk about them boys, which is kind of disappointing, but that's fine. It is what it is. He does talk about the problems with racial diversity, which I do agree to an extent for sure. All right, breaking. J.D. Vance just dropped the Ohio State's national championship trophy during a visit to the White House, bro. Holy. Hold on, let me. So here he is right here, as you guys can see. Let me make this a bit bigger for you ninjas. Oh, shit. Bruh. This nigga look like Assassinate right here. It fell apart. I think I commented underneath. Did I comment underneath this? No, hold on. I commented something. Let me... Oh, I commented, if Peter Thiel was there to help, this wouldn't have happened. Yeah, I should comment. Oh, man. Let me go ahead and comment that shit under here, too. Bro, and for those of you that don't know, Peter Thiel basically propped up J.D. Vance's entire political career. You know, so... Oh, Lord. That's some entertaining shit, bro. Let's see here what else we got. Any other... Oh, let me read some chats here, see I make sure I didn't miss any of you guys. For some odd reason, guys, the Rumble rants are not showing up on Rumble Studio, so I apologize for that. I'm making sure I didn't miss any of your guys' chats from before. All right, I think I caught that. Chaos Club Ninjas. All right, I think we're caught up. Let's see here. So bail denied for the leftists who bombed. Okay, so the guy that bombed the place, literally, bail got denied. So look at what. So we literally got here. Young Turks, let's see what they're talking about.
You just mentioned. I don't think that's clear. If we can get that in writing and public statement.
So they're basically saying Bukele and Trump won't return wrongly deported dad. Trump administration changes tariff policies again.
Statements from Iran that they would recognize Israel's right to exist then instead of actually being one of the roadblocks to the Palestinians getting a state because they're funding Hamas and encouraging terror. If the Palestinian Authority would actually do that, but also remove the pay.
He don't love you, says Myron. Real estate question. How do you determine how much you could rent out your property? You got to go off the comps, bro. You got to go off the comps, how much rent in the area is going for. That will be the main thing, and you typically want to be within that range.
Pay for slave program that pays for every time an Israeli is killed by terrorists from the Palestinian territories, then I would agree with you. But I don't see that. And in fact, many Palestinian citizens that I have spoken to and that I've seen in interviews countless times, even during this horrible war, some are for a two-state solution, and many still say no, that Israel's no right to exist.
Guys, we got 1,700 likes. Let's get to 2,000.
Want all of our land back. I know you don't agree with the right to return. You think they have to move past that. I agree with you on that, but I don't see that from the general public as a whole or from these.
I don't know if I've publicly talked about this. I've mentioned it on Twitter, but I might as well say it here. My stance when it comes to the Israel-Palestine situation, guys, is we need a two-state solution. Let's be very candid here. The Palestinians are never going to get all their land back. They lost multiple wars. Well, I think they had a war 48, 73 with the Yom Kippur War, etc. They've lost a bunch of different wars and skirmishes with the Israelis. So they're never going to get all of Palestine back. You're going to need a two-state solution. And that's really the only way that it's going to work. Now, the thing is that Netanyahu and the Israelis have no incentive to have a two-state solution because they have the monopoly, they have the power, they have the money and the resources from the United States. And this is a big reason why they don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon, because if Iran had a nuclear weapon, I promise you, they would force Israel to the table to make a two-state solution because on behalf of the Palestinians, right? That is a big reason why they have the acts of resistance in the first place, is to support the Palestinian people. So it would force the Israelis to the table, but since they don't have to come to the table because they have nuclear power, they have U.S. support, they don't have to negotiate. And there's a reason why they killed Yitzhak Rabin. Yitzhak Rabin obviously struck the huge deal, the Oslo Accords, alongside Yasser Arafat, where they were working towards a two-state solution. At great dismay, by the way, to both of them. Yasser Arafat and both Yitzhak Rabin were both admonished by the organizations for doing so. Yitzhak Rabin by the Israelis, Yasser Arafat by the PLO. They were. That's why they had to have the meetings in secret in Oslo to make it happen in the Bill Clinton administration. And shortly thereafter, after they struck this deal, Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated in Israel, and he was assassinated by a far-right party member of the Likud party. And to this day, many believe that it was Benjamin Netanyahu that instructed that individual to kill Yitzhak Rabin. Look, I'm not, you can have your conspiracy theories put on the tinfoil hats, but what we can absolutely say is the person that assassinated Yitzhak Rabin did not want a two-state solution. He did not like the Oslo Accords, and he was a supporter of Netanyahu because he came from the same party. So with that said, you're going to need a two-state solution. It's the only way it's going to work. You're not going to get the Israelis out of there. They have too much infrastructure, too many people there, too much U.S. support. The only way we're going to get some kind of peace is we're going to need a two-state solution. But the problem is that the Israelis don't want to give them a two-state solution. They give them bullshit. They don't give them sovereignty. They don't let them have an airport. And when they did have an airport, Israel fucking bombed it. So they're going to need to actually give them the ability to have some level of sovereignty and have their own country. I mean, it sucks. They're not going to get all their land back, but that's kind of where we're at, where we need to come to some kind of middle ground where all parties can exist. But the Israelis on this part are doing everything in their power to ensure the Palestinians don't get their own state. And this is why they prop up Hamas. This is why they give support to Hamas, because what Netanyahu does is he gives money to Hamas and says, look, they want to kill us. Look, we can't negotiate. Oh, my God, because they're trying to destroy us. And they do that on purpose. So it is what it is, man. It's a very unfortunate situation. But I think that's the only way that we're going to make peace is a two-state solution.
Parties.
So real quick here as we run out of time. Look.
And that's the minimum you need.
Yeah, so if you say as a prerequisite to peace talks.
Holy shit, man, Cenk is fat as fuck.
I want all of your concessions ahead of time. No.
Bro got a big ass neck.
But within the peace talks, if you say you have to agree to a right to exist and never to attack Israel, of course, that's the whole point of the peace talk. You want a safe haven for Jews in Israel, and you want an independent and free Palestine. That's the goal we should get to. Macron and France.
I agree.
Thank you, because you're helping us get there. All right, everybody else do likewise. We're gonna do members.
And once again, it's amazing to me that how people like myself, and other individuals who might be considered alt or far right agree with people like Cenk and Hassan Piker. I'm telling you guys, I have never seen an issue bring both the left and the right together like the the Israel-Palestine situation and Zionism control of American politics. I have not seen another issue. Maybe you guys type in the chat below, guys, what other topic you guys have seen brought the right and the left together. But I haven't seen something like this in a political issue bring both sides of like the farthest ends. You can take someone on the far right, someone on the far left. They both agree on this issue when it comes to Palestine and Israel, etc. For different reasons, of course, but I've never seen it bring both them together. Maybe 9/11, uniting the country. Iraq, I don't think was the proper response, but I think maybe you can make the argument that 9/11 brought the country together, where both people on both factions agreed that we needed to do something. But yeah, leftists are not red-pilled on J-Power. I agree with you, Bad Goy. They're not red-pilled on it. And this was proven yesterday with Hassan Piker. Someone sent me a clip to react to yesterday with Hassan Piker, and like Hassan was shocked at I could play the clip if you guys want me to, but long story short, he was shocked at the Trump administration saying shalom to Khalil Mahmoud. Like, he was shocked at that. Like, oh my God, this is like crazy. And in my head, I was like, no, bro, it's not crazy. It's Israel runs this country. We've been saying this shit for a long ass time. Like, you leftists are just fucking starting to wake up to this shit. But yeah, dude.
There's only an episode for the members. You guys are gonna love it. So hit that join button below or go to tyt.com/join and we'll
W said, stop letting Chris speak on After Hours. Dude went too far on Friday. Okay.
see you there in a minute.
See, some of you guys love Chris. Some of y'all niggas hate Chris. It's like, I can't win with y'all. Anyway, let's see here. And let me see. I think, are we live on Fresh and Fit yet? We should be. Yep, we are live on. Look at this shit. Niggas making videos about Fresh, hating ass nigga, bro. Nobody. Okay. Money Monday call-in show. So yeah, we are live on there, guys. I'm just waiting for. Okay, Steve's in there as well. Let me make sure we got everybody here. Give me 1 sec, chat. Before. Give me 1 sec. I know I could rate on Rumble at least. All right, ninjas. So, guys, this is what we're gonna do. We are live right now on Fresh and Fit, right here. So we're gonna have Steve on. We're gonna be answering it's gonna be a call-in show, guys. So I want you guys to just raid this shit right here. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat. Come on over, guys, to Fresh and Fit. We're gonna have a call-in show with Steve. We're gonna talk taxes. Obviously, tomorrow is the last day for taxes, guys. So get your questions answered. Maybe you guys might need to file an extension. You guys get access to Steve. Ask questions literally a day before taxes are due, guys. So this is a very important episode. That's why I want to make sure we get it to you guys. So come on over, Josie. Do me a favor. Raid Fresh and Fit on Rumble right now. Raid Fresh and Fit. I'm giving you guys the link right now to come on over and watch the stream on YouTube. So come on over, guys. I'm going to end this stream here. Love you guys. Come on over. Literally, we're live on Fresh and Fit right now. I want to see a whole bunch of O/slash over there. Come on over, guys. I'm going to end the Myron Gaines X chat here. I'll be back tomorrow 5 p.m. We're going to cover more news and political discourse. We'll go a little bit deeper probably on the student visas, the student stuff with Northwestern and everything else like that.